hello, hello, hello. Can everyone hear me? Just checking the audio. Okay, looks like it's working. Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. Welcome, Cabal Corps. Glad to have you back. Luke Danger, as always. Great having you here. Oh, Alicia Earl. Hey. She says, hey, Snowman. Finally was able to catch a stream. Happy to be here. Well, great to have you here. If you guys don't know, I help out my friend's channel, the Super Challenge Brothers. They do Nintendo stuff mostly, and sometimes I help moderate the chat. So Alicia Earl's a guest from there. Michael Grodel. Hello, Sir Snowman. We can hear you. Thank you. Good to have you. You're oftentimes here, both in my comments and on my stream, so good to have you here. Luke Danger, please stand by. Cabal Corps says, sounds good. All right, then we'll get started. Gosh, this brings so much nostalgia. Oh, I'm sure we can all relate, but like I spent so many hours as a kid when I was done with school just playing the campaigns of GDI and Nod in this game over and over and over again. All right, let's get back to this mission. Okay, so last time we left off, we had just secured the crash site for the UFO. Looks like everything in there was pretty much taken. But we do know where the UFO may have came from. We believe it came from General Vega, who was a Nod general somewhere in the Yucatan. So we have been sent to go take out his base. But before that, we're going to destroy the hydroelectric dams powering his outer defenses. Destroy those, and then it'll be much easier to assault his base. And then we can figure out what the heck is going on with the UFO, which I don't know if it's ever fully explained in the GDI campaign, but in the Nod campaign, it's sort of explained that Kane, the leader of Nod, used the Tacitus, the alien data matrix that gives knowledge of alien technologies, and they used that to basically create the UFO. So technically, it's not straight from the screen. There's a few extra steps in between. Yes, sir. All right. So this is another fixed forced mission. I can't remember who coined the term, but But as far as fixed force missions go, this is probably one of my favorite. I remember this. They're going to blow up the bridge, aren't they? Yeah. Well, as always. I love the crawling animations. Anyway, so, yeah. Michael Grodel says, I think the term is limited build, but I don't know. Yeah, I have to look up whatever the official term is. I like the term fixed force. It just rolls off the tongue nicely. Luke Danger says, I think it's only given a vague description that Kane built it, but not that the Tacitus was used to create it. Oh, interesting. I always assumed that it must be the Tacitus, because if you guys caught my video on who and what is Kane, the way Kane describes the knowledge of the Tacitus at the end of the GDI campaign, it sort of sounds like this is all new information to him too, and that he's not super familiar with it, because I think at this point in the timeline, Westwood, the creators of the series, generally wanted Kane to be seen as human, if an abnormal human. So I don't think we're going off the assumption that he is an alien and that he would know this knowledge just offhand. So I tend to like to think that it was from the Tacitus, but Luke Danger's right. There's no specific, I think, indication that he got it directly from the Tacitus. Snufflegrunt says, hey, nice to catch the stream again. Good to see you, Snufflegrunt. I believe you were on the last stream. Good to have you back. Alicia Earl says, as someone who has not played CNC, which installment is the most recommended? Have a favorite or based on nostalgia? Ooh, that's a hard one, because these games have been around since 1995, and while it's tempting to say, hey, start with the very first one, those can be kind of hard, because games in the 90s were kind of punishing. I'm not sure. I mean, it depends really on like what your experience with strategy games are, like real-time strategy. If that was something that you're used to, or you've never played that before, that might be something So yeah, just let me know, Alicia Earl, like, what have you played real-time strategy games before like this? Because if you're a beginner, I don't want to throw you in the deep end with like Tiberian Dawn, the very first game, because that game can be pretty tough on a newcomer. And I kind of agree with Snufflegrunt, maybe a newer game like Command and Conquer 3, because it does a decent job of like summarizing what came before and starting you brand new. So yeah, honestly, CNC 3 might be the best place to start, especially if you like the Tiberium universe, which honestly is the greatest appeal for me in these games, is the world and the story and the universe and the fascinating sort of sci-fi concepts, which to me, no sub-series in the Command and Conquer series does it better than the Tiberium universe. Okay, Michael Groldo says, I suggest playing Red Alert 1. That's a good one. Red Alert 1 and Tiberian Dawn, or Command and Conquer, the original ones, have been recently remastered and are now on Steam. And those are very good remasters. So if you absolutely wanted to start near the beginning, you can't go wrong with the remasters. But again, if you're brand new to real-time strategy, maybe start with CNC 3. Alicia Earl says, well, the Oregon Trail still holds up for having low graphics, so this one isn't hard to look at. I'm glad you can appreciate older graphics. Most people just go, ugh, yuck. To me, these are very charming because I grew up playing games like this. I still need to play Oregon Trail. Maybe for the second channel, which is up and running. HSG Snowman's Playground. I like it because I could just kind of mess around and play whatever I want without having to worry about views. So if there's any games you want me to play, I know we've gotten some suggestions for the original Fallout. So if any of you guys want me to play some games that I might not cover here, at least anytime soon, feel free to let me know. I might cover it. Luke Danger says, Alicia Earl, CNC3 and Kane's Wrath for gameplay, Tiberian Sun for atmosphere, and Red Alert 2 is really solid. All solid recommendations, Luke Danger. Can't disagree with that. Luke Danger says, and there's the flaming shoeboxes of death. I can't tell if you're referring to the Devil's Tongues or if you're referring to the ammo crates. Snufflegrunt says, back in the day, I saw CNC3 called a soft reboot, and I semi-agree. Yeah, no, for sure. Tiberium Wars, a.k.a. Command & Conquer 3, definitely feels like a soft reboot of the series, while still technically not really retconning anything. Oh, that's why I love this mission so much. I love these dropships, and I love how often you get reinforcements in this mission. So cool. Let's go. Alicia Earl says, cool, seems CNC3 is the best to start with. I will need to look into it. Yeah, let me know how you feel. Real-time strategy isn't for everyone, but if you do end up enjoying it, let me know. I did recently do a video on Command & Conquer 3 called... Oh no, Flame Tank. Gotcha. Well, that sucks. Yeah, I recently did a video on Command & Conquer 3 called Tiberian Wars, Redeeming the Legacy of GDI. So after you play CNC3, feel free to visit that video. It might make more sense after the fact. Luke Danger, the ones that burrowed that we didn't get to see what it was. Yes, Shoeboxes of Death, the Devil's Tongues. Ace Halford, yo, big fan of your videos. Good to have you on the stream, Ace Halford. Glad you enjoy my videos. I certainly enjoy making them. I think I cranked out the Commandos video and the Red Alert 2 video in like the space of like a week and a half. So those videos were very quick to make, but also very time intensive. So I'll confess, I'm a little disappointed that the algorithm has not blessed them as much, especially the Red Alert 2 video. But, you know, I got a lot of cool engagement in the comments, and I love talking about the lore and the series with you. I didn't get as much lore talk for the Red Alert 2 video, which I think is understandable because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this community in particular really likes the Tiberium universe. I've got multiple comments being like, yeah, no, Red Alert 2 was a lot of fun, but the Tiberium universe is my favorite, which I do agree with. And just for your edification, Alicia Earl, there are 3 sub-series within the Command & Conquer universe that at least are supposed to be all in separate timelines, but there is some crossover. There's this universe, the Tiberian universe, which is a world where this alien crystal Tiberium landed in a meteor in 1995 and is tearing the Earth apart, but also is a wonderful resource that allows us to build huge sci-fi armies. As the Global Defense Initiative, which is what's left of the Western nations and the United Nations, fight off against the Brotherhood of Nod, a sort of pseudo-terrorist religious faction with a mysterious immortal figure named Kane who leads them. Then we have the Red Alert universe, which originally was a prequel, but then kind of veered off on its own direction, which is sort of a what if Einstein had gone back in time and eliminated Hitler from history, which then creates an alternate series of wars where the Soviet Union is the primary aggressor to the Western Allies. And then finally we have the Generals universe, which is, while it definitely has parody elements, is the most realistic one that is kind of just straight up a global war on terror game. Which is probably why my dad loves it so much, because there's not a lot of universe or story to have to deal with. It's just straight up, hey, what if you wanted to play as the United States and drop a B-2 bomber onto a bunch of terrorists? Okay. I'm going to save here and answer a couple of your questions. Almost Human says, hey all, just the info. Steam Summer Sale is up and CC Remastered is minus 75% off. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's right. The Steam Summer Sale is up. Thanks for letting me know about that, Almost Human. Yeah, if you want to pick up any of the Command & Conquerors, they're all on Steam now, and the Remastered especially seems to be 75% off. Awesome. Stufflegrunt says, big Fallout 1. Yeah, everybody keeps telling me I should get into that, and I'm very interested in the Fallout universe, even though I haven't really played any of the games. I played a little bit of New Vegas and Fallout 3 on Xbox Game Pass, but I really want to get into the series, so who knows? Maybe I'll do a stream of Fallout 1. You guys can help me figure out how to play the game, because it feels intimidating. Alicia Earl says, please play DK Bonanza. I'd love to see full gameplay. I would love to play the game. I know this isn't really a Nintendo channel, but if any of you guys saw the trailer, the Nintendo Direct for Donkey Kong Bonanza, it hits all the right marks. I'm the kind of guy who loves playing games like God of War, the newer ones, the Norse duology, if you will, and Bioshock 2 and other quote-unquote dad simulators. So DK Bonanza just immediately felt like that was a game that was going to be in my wheelhouse. So, there we go. So, if any of you guys are interested, when I get a Switch 2, I'll probably pick up Donkey Kong Bonanza and cover that for the second channel, HHC Snowman's Playground. So Danger says, Devil's Tongues, what I meant by the flaming shoeboxes. Thank you. Michael Gordo says, what's your favorite general to play in Zero Hour? Excellent question. Shoot, is that Samsite going to shoot it? I guess not. My favorite general in Zero Hour is definitely the Laser General. I love their base defenses because they're good against everything. They're good against infantry, they're good against vehicles, and they're good against air. And I'm a guy who loves turtling, so, you know, having basically the ultimate base defense as a general just sounds amazing. Whoops. I don't know what happened up there. So yeah, the Laser General is by far my favorite. I know the Super Weapon General also has really great base defenses, but in my opinion, I like an all-in-one that's good against everything, including infantry. Alright. Can I leave now? Welcome, welcome. UA Mechanical Man. Mechanical Man is an amazing track. I listen to that far more often than I care to admit. I don't know what question you're asking. RA2 and 3 have minimal lore. Yeah, it's a shame because... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Red Alert is what it is. I love the first one. The first Red Alert is still my favorite of the entire trilogy. But yeah, it's not a huge lore dump. Even Tiberian Dawn had a ton of lore. I think that's why I love that game so much. Because when I went back to play it, because I didn't grow up playing that, Red Alert 1 was the first CNC I ever got, and my family never got Tiberian Dawn, so I didn't actually play that game until the remaster a few years back. And I just love how much lore is packed into even the background cinematics, and you're slowly seeing just how... Shoot. Shoot. Gosh, the cyborgs were such an amazing infantry unit for the Nod. Just amazing. Hate to fight against them, but they're here. I'll just save here. I might load back if I have to do something different. Anyway, Can Leave Now says, I've been seeing large-scale strategy games, and I keep feeling like, why not CNC? Why does it have to? Why does it have to be exactly this format? Yeah, I feel that way a lot. Every time somebody's like, hey, I'm going to do a brand new strategy game. And I'm like, great. And like they're like, it's real-time tactics with no base building. I'm like, why? Or it's a turn-based strategy or something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's something inherently not fun to most people about real-time strategy. I could never understand that. I'm just like, what is more fun than being able to do strategy but do it in real time? And build bases. Like, how is that not more fun? Ooh, squishy, squishy. Here we go. Alicia Earl says, thanks for the additional info. I need it. Appreciate it. And, you know, if it's not your cup of tea, no hard feelings. We're still glad to have you here. RTS isn't for everyone. Can I leave now? This is because time travel, practical writing application. Fair enough. I might have to load back. Yeah. Well, we'll go a little bit further. If there's reinforcements up ahead, I'll keep going, but I might have to load back and put my Titans first. I need better micro with my Titans. Right. Run them over. Gosh dang it. Yeah, we're going to have to load back. Alright, how far back are we loading? Not that far back. Alright. Let's have you guys go first. Anyway, Alicia Earl says, is this game very lore-filled? Love how it seems to have a story built in. Yeah, the Tiberian universe especially does. And Command & Conquer 3 is part of the Tiberium sub-series. So if you like story, definitely stick with the Tiberium games, because they have a ton of story. And it's probably the thing I love most about this game. As I've said multiple times, I don't think Command & Conquer, the Tiberium series, and especially Tiberian Sun, gets enough credit for just how great the story is. And how great the world building is. Let's see if I can trick those cyborgs into getting right over here and then destroy the bridge. Can we do that? I'm curious if we can do that. Yep. Yes, yes. Ah, no, that didn't quite work. I can do better. There we go. Can we destroy the bridge? Come on, destroy the bridge. Snowflake says, that is probably why there isn't a Generals 2, politically sensitive. Yeah, I guess. I kind of almost miss when video games didn't... Is that bridge just not destroyable? Gosh dang it. Okay, fine. Be that way. Yes, sir. Yeah. Waiting orders. Unit reporting. Yeah. What are you doing, sir? You got it. Yeah. Orders. Unit reporting. You got it. Yes, sir. Okay, well, that's better. Yeah. Yeah, I almost missed the time when games had less of a spotlight on them and you could kind of get away with anything because most people in the mainstream culture weren't looking at it. But, you know, life happens. Let me load back. I need to actually go under the cliff so they can't see me. Wait, can I go right? Can I avoid all that and go right? Let me see. RTS is the greatest. Yes, Ace Halford definitely is. No, this is a dead end. Dang it, it's a dead end. Okay. I'm just gonna answer some questions. Luke Danger says, I'd say the lore is not quite in your face, but it's there, and there's a lot of environmental world building. We never got any sort of lore book or anything like that, sadly. Yeah, unless you count the CNC Bible that was created by Westwood around the time of Tiberian Sun's pre-production. But, again, that's not technically canon. Snufflegrunt says, just use Fallout Fix-It for Fallout 1. It does some much-needed quality of life. Thank you. Ace Halford says, the games you talk about are my childhood favorites. Really? Does that include Commandos? I know I got some comments from some people saying they also played that. RA2 is fun, but the Tiberian games are perfect. Agreed. Luke Danger. What happened up there was there's a transport that came in but got shot down when you looked out the top right SAM site in the skyscrapers. Gotcha. Leisure Earl, man, if they had a lore book, that'd be nice to see. I would love that. Chase Baker, Laser General is also great against your own power infrastructure, that's for sure. Hey, Orgluzman, you're back. Active War Direct Action was straight up what you said about B-2 Bomber dropping bombs on terrorists. The game is about global war and terror. I still need to look at that. Ace Halford, Generals was meh. What? What? Oh, I'll try not to hold that against you, Ace Halford. Ace Halford, anyone here ever played the Dune RTS games? A little bit. Snufflegrunt, we have very similar tastes. Ace Halford, yeah, I love them all. Luke Danger, Cyborgs, when you need is ditch the anti-infantry and take out the infantry. Wish later CNC games made heavy infantry need heavy weapons rather than them being immune to them, like the Black Hands. Yeah. Ace Halford, Snufflegrunt, Dune games were beautiful. Can I leave now? Yeah, I want to deploy an MCV in a Google Map Walmart parking lot. I get that. Snufflegrunt, Ace Halford, I love the dynamic OST in Dune 2 and how it would change depending on battlefield conditions. Ace Halford, Snufflegrunt, the same case with Emperor's Battle for Dune. Can I leave now? I kind of wanted to bring back the Chrono Legionnaires in an RA3 mod, but instead of the Japan Psychic missions, it's a dude with time powers forever lost in time. Or Gluzman. In the original CNC3 by Westwood, Yuri was supposed to be there, and he was going to take a time machine into the Red Alert timeline, which would tie into Red Alert 2. Yeah, I keep hearing that story. I keep hearing how Tiberium Incursion, the original name for Westwood's CNC3, was supposed to bring in Yuri and have time travel, and GDI's first couple of missions were going to be them coming across a vault with all this Red Alert timeline technology like the Chronosphere. I've never been able to find a source for that. I keep hearing it around the community, and I can't tell if that's like a copy pasta that's just the community made up, or if you guys can find a source for that, that'd be great. Okay, more guys talking about Dune. In his video, when the first Tiberian War happened, No Strings Production, and it came to the conclusion that the war is between 2019 and 2022. Yes, I've seen that, but I'm not a believer that the first Tiberian War happened that late in the timeline. I know the Tiberian meteor definitely arrived in 1995. I'm of the belief that the war happened a few years after that, so in my opinion, late 90s. I don't like that. And I know there's some comments that CNC3 makes that makes it sound like that retroactively puts it in that timeline. I just find it very hard to believe that within 10 years we go from the Tiberian dawn state of the Earth to, this. I find that very hard to believe. That's just me personally. Or Gluzman. So my question is, what was your thought when you heard on the news 3 years ago that the Nod Temple Prime in Sarajevo was struck by the ion cannon? Oh. Luke Danger says, personally, I disagree with that. The Renegade Manual is probably a typo, and the world changes way too much between Tiberian Dawn and Tiberian Sun, with nations collapsing and becoming something not even worth mentioning. Yeah, there. Exactly what I said, Luke Danger. Alicia Earl says, love how you read every chat. I enjoy the small channels because they feel more personal. Yeah, I agree. That's what I like about this. I know Markiplier has mentioned that one of the things he really misses is when his channel was small and he could interact with everyone. If you ever seen that famous like crying meme of Markiplier, that's when he got like a video of a bunch of people making little videos saying thank you to him, and he said the reason he cried is because he realized he was never going to be able to have personal interactions with all of them, and he missed that from being a smaller channel. So I get that. I get that, and I do really love this community. So let's get under here. There we go. Stay under the cliff. That's how we do it. Michael Grotto says, would you personally link the Riddler and Tiberium timelines? I tend to prefer them not being connected, at least as far as Red Alert 2 and onward goes, just because clearly, despite the rumors that they wanted to eventually link them back together, Red Alert 2 doesn't mention it at all, and it seems like by that point they wanted them to be their own universe. That being said, I do really, really like Red Alert. I love that Kane's in it. I love the idea that Nod has been pulling the strings within other governments throughout history. It's sort of a weird Schrodinger situation where like Red Alert both is and isn't a prequel to Tiberian Dawn, depending on what universe we're talking about. So I have mixed feelings on it. But generally, I prefer them not to be linked, except when I need them to be. Oops, I missed some of the chat. Snufflegrunt, no strings jumps through several hoops to come to that headcanon conclusion of his. I haven't seen his video in a while, Snufflegrunt, so I'd have to go look over that again now that I played the games again more recently and see if I agree with his take. Still tons of respect for No Strings Production. He is one of the major CNC lore channels. He doesn't post pretty much at all these days, but he's fantastic. Him and Jethild, I think, are the kings of CNC lore videos. Especially Jethild. Jethild is probably my absolute favorite of all the CNC lore channels, and I definitely look up to what he's accomplished in the community. He's really brought a lot of life back into the community, in my opinion. Not that it was ever dead, but super appreciate what he's done for the community. Can I leave now? Says, so what happens? Does Kane use the chronosphere to port the first Tiberian meteor to crash? No, I don't think that was it. Oh, dang it. Did I lose him because of it? I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at the chat. Let's have you guys just run him over. Let's just do that. We're going to run you guys over. Ah, crap. Get under, get under, get under. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. Okay, close enough. Again, I may have mentioned this before, but I have never actually played this game on normal difficulty. I've always played on easy, so the fixed force missions especially are harder than I remember. Ace Halford, Doom, Commandos, all of CNC, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Doom, those are my childhood. Nice. Yeah, I started Doom 2016, and I didn't end up finishing it. I really should. Apple Bleach says, peace through power. Good to have you, Apple Bleach. Ace Halford said, yes, very unpopular opinion. Generals was meh to me. Alright, to each their own. I'll try not to hold it against you. I mean, I don't really... The lore, there isn't a lot of lore in Generals, but gameplay-wise, I had a lot of fun playing that. Org Luzman says, after a week and a half, it's weird sleeping a full night without waking up to a missile alarm in the middle of the night. Oh, dang. I don't want to have you dox yourself, Org Luzman, but I assume that you live in a war zone of some sort. Alicia Earl, question: is there a gimmick that sets each game apart, or is it a continuation? I'm not sure what you mean by gimmick. If you mean gameplay, or story, in a story sense, is kind of what I mentioned before. Like, Generals is basically just the global war on terror with a little bit of parody elements, but mostly kind of plays it straight. It's got the three factions of China, the USA, and the Global Liberation Army, which is a fictional terrorist organization for the Middle East. The Tiberian universe is, a world where Tiberian is infecting the planet, and these sci-fi forces basically have to fight him off, fight over the ash heap. And the Red Alert universe is basically just the Cold War gone hot. The Tiberian universe is definitely the most sci-fi. The Red Alert is more like, hey, what if all these military conspiracies from our history were actually true? Ah, yes, there's a way in the back. I miss when games had little, like, easier ways to go in, or, like, cheat ways that they basically gave you to beat the game if you were, like, low on health. I miss that. We're going to save here. Luke Danger says, except when I need them to link. Yeah, though I can accept the RA1 as long as you bury the Chronosphere. Easy enough, I imagine. But by Red Alert 2, they're entirely separate. Agree, Luke Danger. Michael Grodel. Jethiled is definitely the best CNC channel. Goes through a lot of lore. Agreed. Or Glusman. Here's some quote from Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. It is every citizen's final duty to go into the tanks and become one with all the people. Chairman Xing Yang, Ethics for Tomorrow. I don't think I've ever played that one. Stufflegrunt, yeah, not throwing shade at him, just his theory is pure headcanon, made using cherry-picked dates. Yeah, again, I have to look at it again, but I try my best to be objective when I'm coming up with my theories and stuff like that. I'm not always going to succeed, and I also try to get a lot of community feedback as well. If you guys want to know the CNC kind of community lore theory that drives me up the wall, go ahead and ask the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to keep that to myself. Stufflegrunt. I don't really consider Generals a CNC game, more like another RTS with a CNC put on the box. I mean, I don't know if I go that far. It was made by that point, EALA had folded both Westwood proper and Westwood Pacific into that, into one company, and Westwood, the original team, worked on 0 Hour, and Westwood Pacific, that worked on Red Alert 2, made the original General. So to me, it's a CNC game because it was made by a lot of the original team members, and those were the last games they made before they pretty much all left. CNC 3 and Red Alert 3 is made by an EALA that pretty much didn't have any of the original Westwood staff. So that's just me. Alicia Earl, I mean, like, in one game, are you in one world or universe, and in the sequel, you're in the next? What's the meta gimmick? Oh, yeah. Other than early on when Red Alert 1 was originally intended to be a prequel to the Tiberian universe, for the most part, yeah. All the Tiberian games are sequels to each other, so they're all in the same universe. All the Red Alert games are in the same universe, with some time travel shenanigans. And all the Generals games take place as direct sequels to each other. So each sub-series is in a different universe, but within those sub-series, like, all the Red Alert games are direct sequels to each other. All the Tiberian games are direct sequels to each other. And Generals only got one game in expansion, but the expansion is a direct sequel to each other. Michael Grolo says, what does HHC stand for? That is a secret. Gosh dang it, I brought him too close. That is a secret, my friend. And maybe I'll reveal it someday. Someday soon, actually. I think we're getting close to the time when I could reveal that. Just let that build up as community lore. Or Glusman says, I'm from Israel. What kind of missile arm I'm talking about is the 12 Days War. Have we already named it? Gosh, I hate living through historical events. Well, I'm glad you're okay, buddy. I appreciate you being here at whatever ungodly hour you might be watching this at. But I'm glad you're safe, and I'm glad the war's over, at least for now. Chase Baker, I want to know, I will ask, what is the CNC theory that drives you up the wall? All right, 1 second, let me read the last two comments. Snuffleblood says, Nox had the same staff as Westwood CNC 2. I guess Nox is CNC. I don't know what Nox is. Luke Danger, I think if you navigate around, you can get some backup, but you definitely don't have to be able to take that position with what you got there. Good idea. I will do that instead, because I don't want to have to take 2 tick tanks and a laser with what I have. Alicia Earl says, I'm going to guess your secret. You were making a username and put HHC. The snowman comes from a relative that likes Snowman. That's my guess. That liked Frozen. I'll have to be specific. No, you are correct. The Snowman part I did reveal on an earlier stream. There was a family friend who loved Frozen. I don't care for Frozen. I think that Tangled is the much better movie, but that's a whole other discussion, not the purview of this channel. And she loved all the songs, so to make her happy, I learned all the songs by heart, including her favorite, Do You Want to Build a Snowman? And that became such a happy memory for me that became my username for a lot of years, including my YouTube username. HAC is not random. There is a specific reason behind it. Yes, we can go this way. Nox is another Westwood game. I don't think I've ever heard of that. I'll have to look that up. Michael Grodel, unpopular opinion, I didn't really like the Riddler 2 soundtrack that much, though there is some bangers in there. Really? Interesting. I find it very hard not to enjoy it, but to each their own. Yes! Oh, I forgot, the dams are right here! Oh, wow, thank you, Luke Danger. I completely forgot. Man, it's been so long since I played these games. I'm so glad I'm back here. Alright, well, I think we can destroy the dams from here, if I remember correctly. So, shoot. Shoot, 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 shoot. Okay. Come on, come on. Alright, let's see if we can destroy these. Nope, no we can't. Dang it. I might have to load back. Almost Human says RA1 Soviet campaign to the Tiberian universe, RA1 Allied campaign to the Riddler universe. Oh gosh. Almost Human, you just stepped on the theory that drives me up the wall. All right, we're going to answer Chase Baker's question. All right, so the theory that drives me up the wall is when people say... Sir? Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you were trying to land, good sir. Yes, sir. No problem. What are you doing? Just land. What is going on? I think I glitched this thing. Why are you trying to land on my engineers? I'm gonna load back because I think something went wrong there. Yes, sir. Affirmative. No problem. No problem. Sir? Unit moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out. Infantry reporting. Moving out. Anyway, yeah, my theory that drives me up the wall when people I'm not against it. It's not like, oh, you can't believe this. It's just when people say with absolute certainty as though it's like definite canon, when in my opinion it is not definite canon. Is the idea that the Soviet ending of the Red Alert 1 game definitely results in the Tiberian universe, while the Allied ending definitely results in the Red Alert 2 timeline. I fundamentally disagree with that. And I'm okay if you say that, if you say, like, that's my theory, that's what I believe, that's what a lot of the community believe. But a lot of people say that in the comments as though, like, that is settled science. And is this just a glitch? What the heck is going on? I do not know what this is, but... Alright, whatever. You know what? Actually, I might be able to take care of this. I'm gonna save here. But yeah, the idea that I don't think it does. And here's my reasoning why. I'm going to pause here and just explain this real quick. The reason why I think that's not true is because at the end of the Soviet campaign in Red Alert 1, the Soviets gained total control of Europe. Just absolute control, all the way to Britain. There is no indication in in the Tiberian Dawn that this is a post-Soviet universe, because they mentioned, oh, we will tire of the Soviets sometime in the 90s, which seems to imply that, like, much like in our universe, the Soviet Union will kind of just cease to exist. There is no indication that in the Tiberian Dawn games that this is a Europe post-Soviet control. And I know Tiberian Dawn was made first, so like they wouldn't have had the time to make those indications. But I think that's absolutely not true. I think rather there's kind of a Schrodinger's thing where the Allied campaign can become either the Tiberium universe or Red Alert 2. And the reasoning for that is that in the Allied campaign, you also hear about like Black Ops Unit 9 or something, or the that the UN is making a special task force that clearly is supposed to be what eventually becomes the Global Defense Initiative. So both campaigns mention ties to the Tiberium universe. So in my opinion, either one, you can't say just because the Soviet universe has Kane in it and has ties to the Tiberium universe that it's definitely going to result in the Tiberian timeline. I think instead it's a what if. It shows if the Soviets won, this is what would be happening, which in my opinion means that even in the Allied campaign, Kane was there helping out the Soviets. So in my opinion, no. I think the Allied campaign and Red Alert 1 can lead either to the Tiberium universe or to the Red Alert universe, whether or not there's Kane, which I think is a theory that was put forward by No Strings Production. They call it Schrodinger's Kane. So that's my theory, is the Schrodinger's Kane theory. Alicia Earl says that's such a sweet story. Thank you, Alicia. It is. It's a very happy memory for me. Can I leave now? Hearts of Iron could use a Red Alert reimagining. Just asking questions. Luke Danger. Daw. I assume you're talking about the story with the family friend. Ace Halford. What theory is that? I think I explained it. In Israel, it's 9:42 p.m. Oh, that's not so bad. Or Glusman. I started to play Age of Mythology Retold on hard difficulty, and I'm still good. I have a lot of fun. Yes! I play Age of Mythology Retold on hard difficulty, too. I love that game so much. I might do a stream of that at some point. Alicia Earl says, is HAC your initials? No, it is not. Good guess, though. Snufflegrunt says, oh, wow, nostalgia. Michael Rodel, Yuri's Revenge had a really good soundtrack. It did. Ace Halford, war should only stay in video games. I wish that were true, Ace Halford. I wish that were true. Ace Halford says, Tangled was way better than Frozen. Yes, Ace Halford, you make up for the fact that you thought the Generals was mad. I think that was you. Or maybe that wasn't you. That may not have been you. But yes, Tangled is way better than Frozen. Luke Danger, to be honest, I don't feel like the Soviet campaign leads to Tiberian Dawn very well. You changed the world too much from how Tiberian Dawn was basically the 90s plus GDI and Nod. Yes, Luke Danger, we're on the same page. Alicia Earl, Tangled, honestly, I might have to agree with you, Ace. Smart person, Alicia. Speedy Shay J, welcome. Is a history teacher your main career? Gosh, I wish it was. That might be my retirement plan. I hear teachers get paid like garbage, and there was a point in my life where I was considering becoming a teacher, and teachers in my life said, don't do it. So instead I stuck with my actual career, which, should things go well, IRL, will pay me very, very well and allow me to basically pursue all my hobbies because I have enough money to support myself. So I do love my actual career, but there is a part of me that basically thought if I was going to be single for the rest of my life, I would probably become a history teacher. But that wouldn't be enough to support a family in the future that I want. And now that I have a girlfriend, I'll have to wait until I become an old man, I guess. Number one rival. I know some people are also factor the ant missions in. Do the ant missions have a mammoth tank used by the Allies? Yes. I do like that argument, although from an objective point of view, I don't know if I can use the ant missions as canon, even if they do have General Carville. It doesn't really break too much the canon if the ant missions are canon, but I feel like I'm being dishonest if I say, oh, I'm going to pick this dubiously canon thing as support for the theory that I want. Luke Danger says, Kane also cameos in the Allied campaign during some Stalin's broadcast that Von Iceland watches. Yeah, people have said that, and every time I look at it, I can't definitively say whether it's Kane because he's wearing different color clothes. He's wearing a hat, which he doesn't normally wear in any of the Soviet cutscenes. So, but like, who else would it be that's there with Nadia and Stalin? So I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. Ace Halford, Frozen was cool, but Tangled was more wholesome. Correct. Conrad Dozium says, what do you think about Mental Omega? If I could get it to run on my computer, it might be really cool. That is my feelings on that. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Okay, well, I did that. That's kind of cool. Maybe I can get in here and find more reinforcements. Luke Danger. Michael Rodel says, Luke Danger, there's no indication that that man is Kane, though the game never says he doesn't exist in the Allied. Yeah, that's my opinion, Michael Rodel. Chase Baker. Snowman picked up the Tiberian Sun version of the helicopter parent. Yeah, I've never seen this glitch before. Snufflegrunt, I gotta say I appreciate the earlier stream. The last stream I caught before was the first one, which was silly o'clock. Yeah, I got some advice from my friends at the Super Challenge Bros, since they've done streams before, and they advised I do it at around 11 a.m. Pacific time, because they say that generally seems to work for most time zones at some degree. Alicia Earl says, I will try to figure this secret out, Snowman. I very highly doubt you would guess it. It's not hyper-specific. You could probably guess the reason for it, but we're going to keep it a mystery. Here we go. Much better. Speedy Shay J. War Hugh. What is it good for? Alicia Earl says, that is true, Ace. Tangled has a much more sentimental story. Okay, while we're talking about Tangled, I'm just going to say it. Okay. You want to know the scene in Tangled that like absolutely wrecks me every time? It's the scene at the campfire. It's the scene at the campfire, and I'll tell you why. The reason why is because it's the first time that Flynn or Eugene is open and vulnerable with Rapunzel, and she just wants to hear about his story. He just kind of assumes nobody wants to hear, but it's like the first time he can be emotionally vulnerable. And to me, that is 100% the thing that I want in a relationship, is just a place where I can feel safe to be emotionally vulnerable. And that scene always got me, because I was like, oh, that's all I want in a relationship. And praise be, that is what I think I have now. Street Surfers Alex just restarted the campaign yesterday. Awesome to see you play. Good to have you, Street Surfers Alex. Love this campaign too. Or Gluesman, my personal trainer was a Red Alert 2 when he was a kid, and it was his favorite game back then. Nice. Luke Danger, Michael Grodel, he's dressed the same as in the Soviets. He's not identified by name, but I don't think he wasn't meant to be the same. Not like the cutscene of Frank Klepacki breaking Joe Kukan's neck. Yeah, again, I think I disagree that he's dressed the same, but I don't know, I could be wrong. Last time I checked, I didn't think they were dressed the same. Snufflegrunt. Essentially, my argument is that if any game made by Westwood is CNC, then all the Westwood games are CNC, which obviously you don't agree with. I'm not going to die on this hill. I don't care. If you want to say CNC is not a real general, have at it, my dude. Look at all the Tiberian. Speedy Shade J. What happened to your past videos? Deleted them? Oh, they all got moved to the second channel. If Aussie Street Shark is in the chat, maybe he could post the link. It's called HHC Snowman's Playground. I put all the old videos and re-uploaded them there, and I'm trying to finish a bunch of old... Oh, I can get over here. Interesting. Let's see if we can do that. I know I could just end the mission, but like I kind of want to see what's over here. Yeah, so all the old videos are there. And I'm trying to finish some old walkthroughs as well over there. Also, if you guys want any games for me to cover, let me know. Snufflegrunt says, General play is too different to the rest of the series, in my opinion. Orglusman says, that's Red Alert theory about the timeline was not stated by No Strings Production. It was started by the CNC community years before that. Which theory? The Schrodinger's Kane theory? It may very well have been. That was just the first time I've heard somebody name it specifically Schrodinger's Kane. I think it was No Strings Production. Luke Danger. Either way, Red Alert can or cannot be canon to Tiberium. I think it depends on whether or not it works for what you want or not, especially if they're writing the CNC fanfic or not. Yeah, it's funny. I don't think even Westwood was able to fully decide what they wanted to do with that. I kept going back and forth on that. Michael Grorel says, seeing the transport glitching out reminds me of when I got that to happen to Ransom. I can't remember which mission, though. I have never seen that glitch before, Michael Grorel. It's crazy. Luke Danger says, Pep Tuck had a very good line that depends on the RA1 timeline being canon. Havoc says that since Stalin War was you point, you click, they die, and you don't need it for Tiberian. Huh, not familiar with that. Or Glusman, you can put the link to your second channel. Oh, can I put the link? Yeah, I can't do it right now.
Yes, sir.
Or maybe I can. Give me a sec. If you guys could not chat for just a few minutes while I get caught up, and then I'll put the link in the chat. So, one sec. Actually, I don't think I can from here. No, I can't. Never mind. I'll see if Aussie's online. Luke Danger. As an aside, you can see those engineers to capture the con yard and the refiner with the harvester if you want. Oh, I missed that. You're right. I could have done that.
Sir.
Alicia Earl. Look at the Tangled teaching and you how to make a relationship work. Bro, if I didn't need the algorithm to do its thing and like stay consistent, I'd probably do a video essay on just that campfire scene on this channel. It wouldn't get any views. Nobody who's subscribed to my channel is here for analysis on Tangled, but I would do it otherwise. Luke Danger, or blow it up, I guess. Oh well. Sorry, I'm really behind on the chat. I need to get caught up. Or Glusman, HSC Snowman Gaming. What do you think about Tangled, the animated series? I really enjoyed it. I haven't finished it yet. I got about like a quarter of the way through, but I really liked it so far. We'll see if it's still good as it goes on. But I like that they had all the old voice actors. Alicia Earl, my job at roasting my favorite YouTubers will never quit. Indeed. Oh, here he is. Aussie Street Shark for the Super Challenge Bros. He's here. Ace Halfer says, yeah, I had trouble running Mental Omega 2. The other mods, no problem. Yes, you have been summoned. Speaking of which. Oh, there it is. He put it in the channel. The second channel. There's the link. Nice. Stufflegrunt says, if I remember correctly, it came from an ex-Westwood employee splitting on a forum. Or spilling it on a forum. Oh, maybe. Or claimed employee.
Orders received.
Alright, let's get back up here.
Moving out.
Okay. Luke Danger. Peptuck's line was from his Tiberian Wars novelization fanfic, partially in response to the official novelization, which was bad. Yeah, I'm reading through the Tiberian Wars novel now. I still haven't gotten to the parts that the community hates just yet. I'm still very early on. But I do want to read it just for the sake of it being a part of the history of CNC, and I'll see what's so bad about it. But I'd love to get a link to that fanfic, if at all possible. Alicia Earl, nah, do the Tangled review for April Fools or something. That's not a bad idea. Guys, I was going to do a video essay on CNC4 Tiberian Twilight for April Fools this year, but real-life concerns got in the way, and I couldn't get around to doing it. But I was so looking forward to just, like, doing an absolutely serious review of, like, here is a mod that people made for CNC3 that never really saw the light of day. The community hated it, and it wasn't actually an official game, but alas, I didn't get around to doing that. But, you know, maybe a Tangled review, maybe next year. Aussie says, movie essays with Snowman third channel idea. Right, because I don't have enough on my plate. Or Glusman, Snowman, do you like the movies Road to El Dorado and Sinbad the Legends of the Seven Seas? They were okay. I haven't seen, actually, Road to El Dorado in forever. I need to watch it again. I heard it was really good. I haven't seen it in forever. Sinbad the Legends of the Seven Seas is kind of meh to me. Love Prince of Egypt, though. I really wish that more studios would go back to making that kind of, like, 2D animated with, like, some computerized 3D elements. I feel like that was also in Tarzan, which I really loved. If you guys have ever heard of Epic the Musical by Jorge Rivera Arons, I would love a movie of his version of The Odyssey by Homer in that style of, like, the Prince of Egypt, that 2D with some 3D elements. I think that would be fantastic. Alicia Earl says, talk about a great third channel. Indeed. Ace Halford, play Doom. I should. Ozzy says, I know, right? He's extremely knowledgeable on the subject. Speedy Shade J says, Glusman, I thought I was the only one who remembers El Dorado. That was definitely my generation. Alicia Earl, Prince of Egypt was a banger. It is. Love that. Love that movie so much. Michael Grodel, been replaying the Nod campaign of Tim Dodd. It's been really fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed Tib Dawn more than I thought I would. Rodent SG, you play a game all day. I do. Alright, thank you guys for helping me get all caught up with the chat again. You can go back to your normal speed if you weren't already doing that naturally. Ugh. Hopefully we can get to the new Vega mission soon. That's the one I really want to play. Okay. Org Bluesman says, no, you're Speedy Shade J. It's on Netflix in Israel right now. Oh, nice. Rodent SG, do you have a goal in life? I don't know. The goal most people have, be happy. I honestly just want to make enough money in my main job and have a steady, like, career. I don't need to accomplish a lot. I just need to be steady so that I can afford to do everything else in life I actually want to do. Like, run my YouTube channel. Be a good boyfriend. I don't know, write fantasy. I do write fantasy in my spare time. Hopefully I would like to get published or self-published someday. I think that would be super fun. I'd like to make video games. Gosh, Aussie, me and him have been trying to get this video game off the ground and make it, but we keep not finding the time to, like, actually get it done. But my gosh, I would love to make a video game. That is probably my biggest dream aside from, like, starting a family. Luke Danger says, sadly, I think he only got partway through the second act, but he does make Act 1 an entire novel for DC first. Very interesting. Rogue Gluesman says, sound cools, Jay. Gluesman, I used to have the VHS. Who remembers VHS? I certainly do. I think it's a superior format because you could chuck that up against a wall and it would still run. Snufflegrunt, making games is hard. It is. And we're going to start small. Indie stuff, you know, side-scroller kind of stuff, but hopefully get better at it. Luke Danger, I remember VHS, all those previews loaded in before the actual movies. Coming soon to DVD. I have the VHS of Lion King and still have the DVD. Nice. Chase Baker, one of the other content channels does games retrospectives and travel logs. I will just watch just about anything if it is earnestly made by the creator, including why Tingle's campfire scene is the best. You know, I might just do that, Chase Baker, if for no other reason than that. Look, I'll be honest, the response to my Commandos video and my Red Alert 2 video was a little disappointing. And that's not on you guys. I've explained this to Aussie, but there were 100,000 people who watched my Tiberian Sun video and 50,000 who watched my Red Alert 1 video. None of those people are subscribed. All the people that show up to my streams and comment on every video are the people who watch my Red Alert 2 video and my Commandos video. You guys are awesome. Like, this is not directed at you in any way. The reality is, most people who come across my Red Alert 1 video and my Tiberian Sun video is because is precisely because the algorithm decided to bless my video that day, and they watched that one video and they left because they purely had interest in Tiberian Sun or in Red Alert 1. And that's just the way the dice rolls sometimes. So if this is going to be the future of my channel where I'm not going to get views that high ever again, and it's just going to be my core audience, then, you know, maybe I will do a Tangled Campfire video. Why not? Like, I'm not doing this for the money. I mean, I wish I could make some side money off of this. Don't get me wrong. It definitely helps when I can. But this is clearly not going to be my career. So maybe I can just do stuff that interests me, like the Tangled Campfire scene. Because who cares about the algorithm? As long as you guys are cool with it. And I am going to get that Brotherhood of Nod Part 2 video done. Trust me, I will. That is still the priority. That's the next video I'm going to make. But I would like the freedom to make the stuff I want to make at some point, too. Can you guys just get out of here? Oh, Ace Halfer says, gotta go later, Snowman and people. Good to have you, Ace Halfer. Glad you were on the stream. Hope to see you again next time.
Yes, sir.
Alicia Earl says, my last chat did not send. Still stuck on what HEC stands for. Perhaps it's something you made as a kid and kept because of nostalgia. I'm gonna figure this out one day. Hey, I'll continue to tell you what it's not. It's not that. I didn't make it as a kid. That is a relatively recent thing I did as an adult. And it definitely means something very specific, which I don't think you'll guess what it specifically stands for because it's kind of personal. But you might be able to guess the reason for why I did it. Speedy Shade J says, bye, Ace. Nice. Speedy Shade J, coming soon to all DVD and video. There you go. Ace Halford says, just go in for a CNC4 Species J, it reminds me of making video games. Show us some impressions, please. What do you mean by show us some impressions? Okay, I'm gonna hurry up and beat this just so I don't have to hear that stupid dropship anymore. This is annoying. Okay, let's get a little closer. Alright, can I get this laser guy without dying? Sorry, I'm a little behind on the chat. Kodiak having a stroke over there. Not the Kodiak, but yes, I see what you're saying. It's just Orca dropship. Alicia Earl says, enjoy, be blessed. Or Gluesman, I think you should play Active War Direct Action or Second Chance of Fun RTS. I'll check that out when I get the chance. Please, Tic Tinks, don't kill me. Nope, 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 nope. Speedy JJ, do you do an impression your brothers claim you do? Oh, like a voice impression? Alicia Earl, I'll tell you what it's not. Why, thank you so much. Super Challenge Bros. And my personal unsolicited advice, I'd say go for it if you enjoy making. I think your niche is making video essays on things you're passionate about. Maybe so. And again, if Red Alert 2 is going to struggle to get above 1K, and that's like the most popular CNC game outside of maybe Generals by the wider community, then yeah, why the heck not? That would be fun. That actually could be a blessing in disguise. I would love to make a Tangled video or whatever makes me interested. Let me save again. There was a question I forgot to answer. What was it? Do an impression like your brothers claim you do. I can do like 1930s transatlantic like radio accent. Well, hello everybody. Today we're going to learn about what the Romans did to this carpenter from Nazareth. He's the real bee's knees, but it looks like it's all curtains for him now. That was probably terrible. Speedy Shay J, yes. Jez, welcome Jez to the stream. I feel like there's more interest in CNC recently in general, not just random algorithm luck, people getting nostalgia, and EA releasing old CNC stuff. Maybe so. No, stop doing that. Can you... Come on, I just need to destroy the laser and then I'll go in. Ah, why? You shouldn't have any more money. Anyway. No, I think you're right, Jess. Snuffleground, this is clearly balanced for whatever that dropship is meant to drop off. Ooh, Speech AJ says, ooh, haha. Aussie says, bravo. Alicia Earl, I think it helps having the Super Challenge Bros as your friend, so you get recommended through them. They're how I found your channel. Yeah, it definitely is. They're awesome. Speedy Shay J, same here, Alicia. What a funny group. Aussie says, did you find Snowman when we recommended this channel at the end of the video or in the channel page? I'm going to save and see what happens if I rush it. Here we go. Alicia Earl says, no, I was looking at your community post and then Snowman was recommended to me. Nice. Yeah, I gotta say, guys, life can be very stressful, and I definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of doing these videos. Let's hope we have enough. Yes, it's enough. Speedy Shay J says, Super Challenge Bros, when he was helping out in your Christmas videos, I was like, who's this funny guy? And it was just enough. Yeah, Alicia Earl, if you do end up playing these games, do yourself a favor, play on easy. That's the best way to have the most fun, because the 90s easy is modern day's normal in a lot of ways. Aussie says, we definitely loved having him go ad-lib on those videos. None of that was scripted. Yeah, I didn't think you guys would turn that into an actually produced track and then create a SoundCloud account for me without my knowledge. Snufflegrunt says, don't play CNC 3 on easy now. Yeah, no, CNC 3, I mean, again, if you're brand new to real-time strategy games, don't feel bad about playing CNC 3 on easy. If you are somewhat good at those games, then yeah, play on normal. That's plenty fine. Luke Danger says, in hindsight, the Conyard and Refinery might have helped. Yeah, they definitely would have. Definitely make sure we do that next time. Speedy Shade J, speaking of the Christmas stuff, was there like a stream or something with that Toy Story Buzz level that I somehow missed? Yeah, I always thought there was, because they did a short that had footage that wasn't in any video, so I assumed... Did that just come from a video that never got made? Let me know, Ozzy. Also, I love the architecture. I love that, like, all the buildings that are well-maintained are the ones like this that are made clearly to build in a hazardous environment, almost like an undersea structure. But the buildings that are, like, more like modern structures, like skyscrapers and office buildings, are all dilapidated and have long since been abandoned. I love, like, the environmental storytelling that's told without even having to really tell you directly. Snufflegrunt says, yeah, no shame in playing on easy. Thank you, Snufflegrunt. Shadow Trooper 09. Hi, I love Tiberian's Sun. Isn't the Titan supposed to stay out of the range of the laser turret? I don't remember having that problem in this mission, no offense, but I played on easy, maybe that's why. No, normally it does. I just try to rush it. But yeah, normally the Titans can stay out of laser range, but they can't stay out of Tic-Tank deployed range, and they can't stay out of Obelisk of Light range. Michael Grodel, man, I am sick of that transport sound. Yep, that's why I'm over here. So you don't have to hear it until I can see on the map that the radar is destroyed. Jez, the difficulty settings aren't that well done in these old games as they mess with the unit balance. Normal is the standard unit balance you get in skirmish or multiplayer. Alicia Earl, that's so true. The later you go back with games, seems normal was more like hard and easy was like normal. 100%, Alicia. I agree with that 100%. I think that's exactly what it's like. Aussie, no, we had no premiere for that game. I wish we did, though. If we do end up doing a Season 2 of the Super Christmas Challenge, we'll probably only keep it to Nintendo games. Oh, really? But, because I'm already thinking of new challenges for a potential Season 2 of the Super Christmas Challenge, and it included games that weren't in Nintendo. Alright, you'll have to let me know the rules on that. Shadow Trooper 09 says, oh, it was a Tic-Tank. Okay, I see, law. There were 2 Tic-Tanks there, yes. Luke Danger, Alpha Light Post, huh? I guess they only have a few old labels left there. Yeah, Alpha Light Post, whereas this is called a Nod, Red Light Post. We're almost got it, guys. Stufflegrunt, hang on, are Nintendo super litigious when it comes to streaming their games? Yes, they are, which is one of the reasons why I haven't covered things like Legend of Zelda, even though my girlfriend is begging me to. Michael Grodel, what's the best unit in generals and why is it the terrorist? Everyone knows the best unit in generals is the Pathfinder. Or the Aurora Bomber, because it's stupidly unfair. Alright guys, let's finish this mission. Can you get up here, buddy? I'm going to save. Oh, Aussie just said, yo, it's the Pathfinder. I didn't even see that. Am I the only one that loves that klaxon sound? Ah, so nostalgic. All right, let me answer some of your questions. Shadow Trooper says, I destroyed the light post and sometimes a random infantry would come out of it and either attack me, the enemy, or everything. Oh, I remember that, yeah. Luke Danger, a Humvee full of missile defenders. Yes, you get Humvee, 4 missile defenders, 1 Pathfinder, and you can destroy everything. Yeah, we did say the same thing, Ozzy. Speedy Shade J, Snufflegrunt, they say stop doing productive stuff like Cutscene are talking about characters exotically. I don't know what you're talking about. Michael Grodel, also Pathfinders, they're stupidly powerful. They are. And it's kind of crazy that the U.S. gets them and not the GLA, because you would think that's more within the wheelhouse of the GLA, but somehow the U.S. gets it. Loop danger, or both stay out of range of any anti-vehicle. True. Jez says Pathfinders and Rocket Guys and Humvees. Alicia Earl says that clock sounds like I'm waking up. Yeah, I feel like we all have the same alarm clock. Snufflegrunt, Species J, I thought you had to be monetized and share the profit with them. Yeah, I think Snufflegrunt's right. There's some weird stuff that generally has to happen if they become a big enough channel. Aussie says, very powerful shockwave mod fixes that issue, fortunately and unfortunately, depending on your perspective. Speedy J says, I have no idea. Michael Grodel, shockwave is really good as a generals mod. You ever play the shockwave chaos mod? That's the mod that the D-Train loves best. Speedy J says, Snowman, I was saying Nintendo doesn't like people talking about their characters. Oh, okay, yeah, in that context, gotcha. Yeah, no, they don't. Sludge 102. Hello, Senior Snowman. How goes falling for GDI propaganda machine? I have well and fully drunk the Kool-Aid, Sludge. Thanks for asking. Jez, so true. Units shooting out of a technical makes more sense than shooting out of a Humvee. Really does. All right, let's start the next mission. I hope to complete the next Vega mission so that we can start Hammerfest on the next stream. Woo! I wonder what the binary at the top and bottom of the screen translates to. Good question.
Vega's base is secreted on an island in this sector. Reaching it will be difficult, as there is only one overland access. Your best chance of success lies in the use of amphibious APCs to land on the island and penetrate Vega's defenses. Once on the island, destroy Vega's facility and command center.
All right. Yeah. No, I love the Disruptor too. Awesome thing. It is a little annoying when it destroys some of your own units by accident, but otherwise, love it. Luke Danger, GDA propaganda, he says, while watching today's execution. I love the Nod propaganda and how they like control the media and stuff like that. I always thought that was so freaking cool. Also, I love that there's like a war going on in like Mississippi and Alabama right now, according to the map up here, and we're just never going to be able to see what that's about. Also, GDI has control of Cuba, but not... that's Puerto Rico, I think, so that's... I can't remember what that is. I know the island is called Hispaniola, I think, but I can't remember what countries are there. Is that where Haiti is? I'm terrible at geography. Speedy JJ says, also, I don't like people making fan-made games, just like how they demanded Gmod to remove their maps and characters. Yeah, Nintendo gets super litigious. It's awful. Or Glusman says, you know what I like about Hebrew writing on the tomb in Renegade is that not only I can recognize the name Hevel, but I can also read the Hebrew text with no problem, and as a Hebrew speaker myself. Yeah, no, that was such a cool moment. If you remember from that video, my mom, who is learning Hebrew and is becoming quite fluent, had to help me out with that, and that was super, super fun. Love my mom. Snufflegrunt says, a snowy map in Central America? I don't know what you're talking about. Alicia Earl. Nintendo has always been power high. Can't blame them. They're so strict. They kind of have gone more corporate than a business now. Yeah. Yeah, Nintendo has waves of going back and forth, that sort of thing. Jez says, Haiti, yes. Okay, nailed it. Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Gotcha. Okay, that's that island that I'm thinking of. Gotcha. Ozzy says, that's super cool that the writing is actually accurate, Glusman. Alicia Earl says, he's terrible at geography, yet he wants to be a history teacher. Snowman, thank you for teaching me logic. To be fair, it is specifically like picking out like Central America I'm really bad at, which is kind of weird because I'm got a lot of Hispanic heritage, but yeah, specifically here. Speedy JJ, wow, cool, Glusman. Stuffagrunt, I have the fan-made PC port of A Link to the Past. Nice. I'm still trying to play through all the Zelda games because my girlfriend is a huge Zelda fan, and got to do that. By Snowy Map, you said the next map was Hammerfest. Oh yeah, not the mission we're about to play right now. I'm saying after I finish this Vega mission, which I'm hoping to finish on this stream, the mission after that is Hammerfest, which takes place in Norway, I think. Man, I would want to see that war in the Deep South with GDI Nod. That would be funny. It would indeed. All right, let's get started on the mission.
Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. Reinforcements have arrived. Timer started.
Okay, so I've never actually played this mission if I didn't destroy the the Vegas dams. I'm assuming that if I didn't do that, I would have to go all the way around here and destroy the SAM sites before this would land. Yes, base building. Praise God. Okay.
Construction complete.
Aussie says, "True, Alicia. We're kind of sad
New construction options.
about that. Unfortunately, can't trust Nintendo like we used to." Shadow Trooper says, "I love playing skirmish maps with Tiberian life forms and hearing infantry civilians screaming and dying, stuff blowing up while minding their own business." Yeah, that's something I really missed about Tiberian Sun and Firestorm, is just how the environment itself was an enemy to everyone, and it just felt like the world was alive. It just felt like there was storytelling being done even in the skirmish against AI.
Yes, sir.
Ozzy says, "Same, Michael." Whoop. Sludge says, "To be fair, you don't need geography for history, especially if you specialize." Fair enough, and also there's always Google, and they're always put maps up there, so I can always refer to it. Just off the top of my head, I'm terrible at remembering geography. Alicia Earl says, "Yeah, if we could trust them, so much great content would come out of it." Or Gluesman. Sega is more cool with their fun doing stuff with their games. Yeah. Sega... I don't know. I haven't played a lot of Sega. Speedy Shay J, I'm a Luigi guy. Any game he's playable, I always pick him when available. Nice. Appreciate that.
New construction options. Building.
Or Gluesman, Hebrew word hevel is a key term. It literally translates to vapor, breath, or smoke, and is used metaphorically to describe the fleeting, temporary, and ultimately unsatisfying nature of life. Yeah, no, that's what my mom was telling me, which is really fascinating. I'm glad that that seems to be accurate. What are they shooting at? It's kind of an interesting thing in like religious philosophies, because at least in like Judeo-Christian traditions, they do acknowledge that life is fleeting and temporary, while at the same time holding fast to things that do matter, like character, mercy, and obviously the afterlife. Although I think the afterlife is less emphasized in Judaism. I could be wrong about that. I don't want to say anything specific because I don't know what I'm talking about necessarily. I'm not a theologian. Luke Danger. Tiberian Sun also put a very obscure Norwegian town on the map, much to the annoyance of its inhabitants, if I remember correctly, though that's hearsay. That would be awesome if that was true. I'm going to have to look into that. That sounds incredible if true. Super Challenge Bros. Thanks. Haha. We're on the fence about covering Dragon Drive. We have an idea for it, but we'll need a few more ideas to make it a responsible business purchase. I should sponsor you guys. As soon as I get better at my situation in real life and I can have more cash flow, I would love to just like buy you guys games I want you to cover.
Construction complete.
Okay.
New construction options. Building.
Michael Grodel, the transports landed. We're safe from the noise. Yes, thank God. Sludge 102. If I recall, they were lazy with the optional extras with this one. You get a 20-minute timer where their power is off. Gotcha. Let's get a War Factory. I love the GDI War Factory. It looks so cool. Let's have you guys go up and destroy the rest of the SAM sites. Luke Danger. And now we get access to the jump jet infantry as well, which gives us great scouting and an option to go after Nod's artillery, which shows up here at the other side of the bridges. Yes! I always love the jump jet troopers. A lot of people think that the Rocketeers from Red Alert 2 are better, and in some ways they are, just because they're less finicky, and they seem to do more damage. But at the same time, I miss the ability in Tiberian Sun of the jump jet troopers to be able to land, so that they're not vulnerable to anti-air if there is that in the area. They're not as good as the Nod cyborgs, which I think are kind of the infantry equivalent, since both sides kind of get their heavy infantry. But I still love the jump jet troopers. Okay. We'll come back later. Alright, let's build ourselves a war factory. Right about here.
New construction options.
Alright, let's build a mobile sensor array. And some more harvesters. Alicia Earl says, "Ooh, perhaps a sneak peek at a potential video in the works." See what you get when you go to these streams. Speaking of which, if you guys want to know what future stuff I'm looking to work on, go ahead, feel free to ask. You guys deserve it because you're here at the stream, so you guys get special insight other people won't, even though, you know, I save these streams so people can watch them again later. Speech AJ, I take you all on in Mario Party 4 and Kart 8 Deluxe. Challenge accepted.
Sir. Yes, sir.
If you guys do a stream with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe again, I will join with my Switch so I can show you guys how good I am at racing. Boundlessly mediocre. That's the answer to that question. Seize the day! Shadow Trooper says, after watching someone play this, I'm going to use cement to prevent subterranean units from getting my base, but I never thought about it. I usually do on this mission. You can't put cement over this pathway, which is kind of annoying, so I usually have to put component towers to guard that area. But other than that, cement is pretty effective. Snufflegrunt, the afterlife is barely mentioned in the Bible. Proportionally speaking, yeah. It's mentioned a lot more in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, if I remember correctly, it's mostly just called the grave or Sheol. And it's sort of like kind of the way the Greeks viewed Hades. It was kind of, there wasn't necessarily a grand reward. It was sort of just like, this is where everyone goes after death. I think it's more nuanced than that, but again, I'm not a theologian. Super Challenge Bros says, haha, the Super Mario Party on the Switch was the first Mario Party we played. Alicia Earl says, epic Big Brother Snowman to sponsor his little brothers. When I can. When I can. Aussie says, we appreciate the sponsorship offer. That means you have to, like, host a bunch of really annoying ads that I make myself that you have no oversight over, though. Sledge says, Dragon Drive was the only game making me want to switch to after I found out that Bravely Default is a game key instead of a proper cart. Yeah, a lot of controversy and weird stuff going on with the game carts and the keys and all of that. The industry is moving too fast. Ozzy says, makes sense, the game cards is a real killjoy. Speedy CJ says, does a few times. I assume you're talking about Afterlife in the Bible. Yeah. Michael Grodel, have you ever given the opportunity to have one of your videos be sponsored? No one has ever asked to sponsor one of my videos. I don't think they consistently make enough views for that to ever be something that someone's going to ask me about. Shoot. I need to build some walls, guys. Speech AJ, it does, but in comparison to everything else. Yeah. In a purely objective point of view, like, proportionally, yeah, it doesn't talk about the afterlife as much as you might think, but it does still talk about it, and it's still important, especially in the New Testament. Alicia Earl, on that topic, Snowman, will the video for the main and sister channel be? What will the next one? Good question. So, for the main channel, the video essay channel, HC Snowman Gaming, I think the next video is definitely going to have to be the Brotherhood of Nod Part 2, which is going to focus more on their specific beliefs, both religious and political, as well as what they were up to, at least what I speculate they were up to based on what little evidence we have, before the 1990s when the first game started. Also, there's a game, an indie game that I love, that I just played through called A Story About My Uncle, that I kind of want to do a video essay on, so that might get tossed in there as well. Also, my girlfriend really wants to hear my thoughts on that, so I might make that one if it's a quick video to make. As far as the Snowman's Playground, either I'm going to show the gameplay from A Story About My Uncle, or I'm going to keep doing stuff from the Indiana Jones walkthrough since I've been recording more with my friend, the D-Train. BJJ says, just give me 2 years to get my membership back. Michael Grohl says, boundlessly mediocre, make a good band name. Honestly, story of my life. What the? Oh, when did that happen? Clever girl. Okay, well, good news is that's pretty easy to get back. Did they do that with subterranean vehicles, or do they just walk in? They probably just walked in. Alright, time to build the other wall.
Building captured.
Alright, guys, bring it.
Construction complete.
Orglusman, Hevel name also literally means grief. Hevel's own name is a foreshadowing for his own death, and that he would not live long, and his death would be brutal and sad. Yeah, the Cain and Abel story has always been kind of fascinating to me, just because, like, it gets mentioned elsewhere. I don't know if it gets mentioned again in the Old Testament, but I know in the New Testament it gets mentioned several times by the Apostle Paul as, like, beware you do not fall into the same sin as Cain. And usually it's in the context of, like, you know, don't give in to jealousy, don't give in to basically tearing other people down instead of improving yourself, which has always been a really fascinating concept to me, because I think even outside of a religious context, the idea of the story of Cain and Abel basically being a warning of humanity's tendency to basically want to tear other people down instead of, you know, improve yourself. I think that's a really human reaction that a lot of people have if they're not careful, is instead of, hey, focus on myself, focus on being a better person, it's like, what can I do to tear down the person that's reminding me that I don't measure up? And it's kind of insidious because it's very, you know, you don't realize that you're doing it. I think a lot of us, even good people, end up falling into that without realizing it. And I always was fascinated by how often the New Testament especially warns about, like, not falling on into the same error as Cain did with his brother Abel. Anyway, Sludge, I need to dust off my Switch and buy online, it seems. I'm always up for an MK8 challenge with Wii U or Deluxe. Yeah, I would love to join in on that. Luke Danger, annoyingly, you can't build cement under already built structures. True, but that's not usually a problem. The problem is that you can't put it over these paths, see? That sucks. But yeah, aesthetically, yes, Luke Danger, it is annoying that you can't put pavement over already built structure, because that messes with my sense of completeness. Alright, let's build some Titans. Jez says, can the sub-APCs burrow through the path? Yes, they can, which is super annoying. Oh no, what the? They're bringing artillery in already? Shoot. That's bad. They didn't used to do that on easy. Just get close. We gotta get close. We gotta get close. Move! The last thing we want is... No! No, 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 no! There we go. Get close, get close, get close. Don't let them run you over. Don't let them run you over. Kill it. No! Everyone kill it. You guys, keep harvesting. Sheesh. Well then. That's the danger of artilleries, guys. Whew. Alright. Let's see if we can take these guys out. There's a base to the south of us. If we destroy that, that'll help. Stealth Grunt says, yeah, the Old Testament barely talks about it at all. I assume you're talking about the afterlife? Yeah. Shoot. Whoa, really? Okay, that's how we're going to play it? Look at the Orca Fighter, barely doing any damage. What is even the point of this unit? Anyway, let me save. Haven't saved in a while. Also, let's save for this mission as well. Destroy Vega's base, because I just want that, so I can go back to these missions later. Let me answer some questions real quick. Yes, Jez. Sludge says, depends. Some paths yes, other paths no. If you place concrete over it, subterraneans can go through. Remy, I can't pronounce that. Kempa, don't believe false GDI propaganda. One vision, one purpose in the name of Kane. Good to have you on the stream, Kempa. Aussie says, Michael Grodel, no sponsorship opportunity yet. We're still too tiny for that. Regardless, we've thought about possibly reaching to a couple of companies to get a sponsorship since we use their products. Nice. Stuffelgrunt says, even in the New Testament, the word used and usually translated to hell is Gehenna, the dumping ground just outside Jerusalem. Yes, Snufflegrunt, you know quite a bit about New Testament theology and languages. That's pretty cool. Yeah, no, so Snufflegrunt is right. The word, there's a few different words used for hell in the New Testament. One of the main one being Hades, which generally is kind of like the Greek version of Sheol. It's kind of just the term for afterlife, death, and that sort of thing. If it's referring to specifically like a place of punishment, hell, then it uses the Hebrew word Gehenna, which was the place, like he said, that outside the city where you would dump unclean things and have them burned, like idols and things like that. So it became kind of the metaphorical word for hell, since they didn't necessarily have a specific word for it. And I always found it interesting that because the New Testament was primarily written in Greek originally, the word they use for like death and the grave is Hades, even though Christians obviously and Jews wouldn't have believed in the Greek concept of Hades, but like that's the only word the Greeks would have had for that, so they used it, which I always find that really fascinating. Where'd you learn all this stuff, Snufflegrunt? Ozzy says, Sludge, feel free to join us in the MK8 stream one of these times. Welcome, Kempa. Shadow Trooper says, GDI can repair both vehicles and heal infantry. Nod can't heal infantry. Yes, but Nod does have the mobile repair unit, whereas GDI can only go to the repair pad, which is kind of annoying, not going to lie. But I think it does speak to the fact that GDI just sort of has more respect for human life than Nod does typically. Luke Danger, looking forward to the Nod religion video. It's a deeply underused part of CNC, especially with how Nod became essentially a new nation in the Tiberian age. Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to talking about their religious beliefs. I definitely found some really interesting things. Basically, they operate... I'll give you a little sneak peek. Basically, they operate like most cults do, at least most Western cults that are offshoots of like Christianity, where they basically change whatever their beliefs are. So, oh my gosh! Subterranean unit detected. Alicia, look at this. Underground unit. There it is. Oh, shoot. Artillery.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Move, move, move.
Yes, sir.
Go, 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 go.
Sir, now. Yes, sir.
Hopefully it won't destroy the bridge.
Orders received.
Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go.
Orders received. Yes, sir.
Alright, now this is fun because I like to capture these structures. So let's just go over here and guard the area, and then we'll bring some engineers over. Anyway, yeah, so basically they operate like a cult, where they basically change their beliefs to whatever they need to do. Especially in the early days, they were very... Whoa, my gosh, there's a lot of you.
Yes, sir. On my way. You got it. You got it. Orders received. On my way. You got it. You got it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wow, I did not realize they had so many. Again, I've never played this on normal. Just- There we go. So, it generally changes, and that kind of makes sense because in Tiberian Sun, it's about divination. Oh my gosh! Why are you carrying so many people in here? Anyway.
Unit ready.
Yeah, they change their beliefs because in Tiberian Sun, it's more about divination and being able to change their bodies to be able to survive Tiberium. And then in Tiberium Wars, it's more of a socioeconomic thing about being abandoned by GDI in the yellow zones. And that's both for their political and religious beliefs.
Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
they changed them a lot, and it's very fascinating to see what they believe in each age of the Tiberian saga. Speedy Shay J says, Super Challenge Bros, will there be a future real fans will have the privilege for a temporary VC chat while playing a game for us? Snuffgrunt says, I had no idea you could build comp towers on top of walls, and I got this on launch day. Oh, really? Huh. It must be fun to learn about. Yeah, no, it's pretty fun. Okay, let's build more pavement. 5. Aussie says, possibly. Rogue and I are throwing around ideas for the future right now. Chase Baker says, ha, Snowman got hit. A single engineer rush. Indeed, I did. Oh, man, I must be really behind. Super Challenge Bros says, welcome, Chase Baker. Luke Danger says, at least it wasn't his con yard. Felicia Earl says, are streams pretty much established as a monthly thing?
Sir, on my way. Yes, sir.
How far behind am I? Oh, I'm pretty far behind. Shoot. Okay, talk about the stream. Michael Grodel says, man, I love Nod. Don't fall from GDI propaganda, brothers. Tiberium shall transform us in the world. The GDI is a close second. Yeah, I've always loved GDI more, even though Nod in the base Tiberian Sun game is objectively the better faction. I don't know. I just... Watch my Tiberian Sun video. You know why I like GDI. Aussie says, not being able to put cement under buildings has always annoyed me too, Snowman. Alicia says, oh my goodness, that's awesome. I'm so happy this is now a thing. Ah, more subterranean units detected. Stop. You can't dig. Haha, look at that. Force them into the kill box. Well then, I remember that wrong then. I could have sworn you could do concrete dirt paths. Snufflegrunt says, Command and Sim City, my favorite. No sarcasm. I mean, that was the best part of the early games, being able to build stuff on grids. Sludge says, this mission was a lot of fun. During my last playthrough, I was playing with new things, and I learned about the waypoint command. Same, love interacting with everyone on the stream. Love that. Alicia says, Super Challenge Bros, wish you both knew how much of your streams, and Snowman's, of course, mean to fans. It's beyond unexplainable. Aw, thanks, Alicia. I appreciate that. And again, I've hinted at it before, but like, you guys being here and just being able to like spend a few hours just forgetting about my life and just going back to being 7 years old playing these games again. I think it's good for my mental health. Until I can afford therapy. Blue Danger says, if I remember correctly, you'll want some air units for the south bases or artillery on the other side of the bridge, and yeah, Orca fighters were disappointing. Yeah, I could have read that earlier. Stufflegren says, the Bible is an interest of mine. Oh, interesting. Yeah, really lots of different things like that are interesting to me. Like the Bible especially, I think it's got a lot of really interesting ideas, and especially even for like world building, since I'm into like fantasy writing, I think there's a lot of cool motifs, themes, and even just like aesthetic choices from like the monsters and other things in there that I think are so cool and are kind of underutilized in fiction. I'm also recently getting really into Greek mythology. I'm reading through Homer's The Odyssey for the first time all the way through as an adult. I read like a abridged version as a kid that I loved and adored. So yeah, ancient stories, man. There's just something about the idea of stories that have stood the test of time and are still influencing humanity thousands of years later that just inherently I find extremely cool. Kempa says, nice videos, by the way. I'm happy that there's still people enjoying these relics like good old Westwood. Yes, and I'm glad there's still a community that wants to hear about it. Because there are lots of other... Because, like, even the Commandos series, which I also adore, their community is not nearly as active as ours. So, you guys have really kept this community alive. So, appreciate that. Alright, let's get down here. Shadow Trooper says, that's true, Law. Speedy Shay J says, I can go on with this topic, but we'll stop if it gets annoying. What topic? We love hearing what you have to say. Alicia Earl says, I'm looking. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, Alicia, you make a good point. The voice lines can get very repetitive because they didn't start giving individualized voice lines to each different unit until Red Alert 2. So, ooh, jump jet troopers, let's go. Hopefully there's no artillery units. Snufflegrunt, are you aware of the Nod guidance files? I've been a fan of CNC since Dune 2, and I only found out about them the other month. Very relevant to your Nod video. Yes! A commenter mentioned them, I think, on my first Brotherhood of Nod video, or maybe a different video. I found the old guidance files. Very fascinating. They're definitely going to be a part of the next video. Alright, guys, let's go get them. Alright, Alicia, watch this. Come on. Jump jet troopers! Nice.
Sir.
You save. Theodore Walter, welcome to the stream, says, nice idea streaming this old classic game from the 90s.
Yes, sir.
You know, even if it wasn't an old classic, I'd still be playing it. I adore this game. And I still think it holds up really well. Alicia Earl says, not like the Delfino short. I think I know what you're talking about. Scarred for life, indeed. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I want to capture these. Let's build it. Alright, I think we're good. Let's go kill these guys. Luke Danger says, and why didn't the units die when the SAPC did? Transports dying usually kills the units within. I don't know. The computer cheats. It cheats a lot. Like Zeus, if you catch that reference. Nod broke Snowman. Shadow Trooper says, I don't know if that's a good idea. I put 2 GDI or Nod turrets and 1 right behind and 2 turrets once the enemy fire. First, I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. Alright, let's build a few more Titans as well, so I can go hunt the rest of those SAM sites. Speedrun the chat, Snowman. I'm trying. Okay, I'll do it real quick. Sludge says, speaking of learning new things about the game, a good way to attack into artillery is to use the Q move, hold Q while clicking on your target, and then again further back if possible the units will move fire. Oh, that's how you do move fire. Thank you, Sludge. Alicia Earl. Snowman, are you teaching me how to play, or are you failing with style, or neither, or are you just freaking out for nothing? No, again, this is the first time I'm playing on normal difficulty, so... gosh, dang it. Get up, let's go. You still got some. Kill it. I think I can destroy the bridge and make it harder for them to get over. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Yep. There we go. Speedy JJ says, Mountain was the same shape and size and diameter as the Ark and found fish that wouldn't be on those mountains outside. I discovered burnt at the top. Sodom and Gomorrah contained sulfur and bones. Yeah, no, I have heard of that. Certain areas that people think might be Sodom and Gomorrah had sulfur and things like that. I think they even found things like shells and stuff in the Grand Canyon and stuff like that. And obviously we have lots of other cultures that talk about a flood. Maybe not necessarily a worldwide flood, but there have been other cultures that have talked about large floods, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, and even Native American stories that have that, which means that there probably was a huge flood sometime in our past that a lot of different cultures have in their collective memory, which I thought was really cool. It reminds me of there's like these 2 stars, I think, in the Orion constellation. I think there's like 7 stars in a constellation that are known as as the 7 Sisters, even though there's only 6 stars there. And they realized that, like, thousands of years ago, those 2 stars were actually far enough apart for, with the naked eye, people to understand that they were that they were actually 7 stars, but over time, the stars actually got so close that you could only see 1. But the Greek mythology stories still say that there were 7 sisters, even though there's only 6 stars visible now, which is kind of interesting. Kind of goes to show that like ancient stories often hold like really deep truths that facts in history have often forgotten. We preserve them as our stories. There we go. Snufflegrunt, I said it was an interest of mine because I asked how about certain things. BJJ says, horse bones found in the Red Sea with carriages. That's right. I remember hearing about that. They found like carriage wheels and other things like that preserved in the Red Sea. So don't discount the stories of the past and the things that our ancestors have said. People weren't any more stupid back then just because it happened a long time ago. They just didn't have certain advantages we do now, but it didn't make them any worse off. Okay. Let's get this going. And now we have access to Nod vehicles. Why does it keep saying subterranean vehicles when it's not? Alright, let's build a bunch of... Guys, if you could. Thank you. Where are these guys coming from? Orgluzman. Hell in Hebrew comes from a place in Jerusalem called Gehenna, where supposedly the evil king Manasseh of Judah killed off a lot of babies as a sacrifice to Moloch until the place was hellish. Dang, I didn't know that. Yeah, it always strikes me really hard when, like, a lot of culture, maybe not a lot, but there were definitely certain cultures in ancient times in antiquity that would do child sacrifice, and then you read quite clearly in the Old Testament where God says things like talking to the Israelites in certain parts of their history where they fell to doing human sacrifice, and God would specifically say, you know, I did not ask for human sacrifice, nor did it even enter my mind. Like, it's so just like anathema to him and just unthinkable to him, and he's disgusted by it. Anyway, Sludge says, that's pretty cool. I'm a huge fan of hotkeys. Luke Danger says, yeah, that was me when you mentioned the guidance files. A lot of really fascinating stuff in the guidance files. Or Gluzman says, also the Hebrew word for hell pronouns has Gehinnom. Luke Danger, the computer cheats a lot, like Zeus. Yeah, that makes a certain line like by Phil in Disney's Hercules. I need you and half a grease added to it. Yeah, it was always funny to me that in Disney's Hercules, they kind of sanitized Zeus and made him almost like an analog for like the Christian god as like a loving father. And like, hey, Hercules is also the son of Hera. It's like, no, he isn't. I still liked Hercules, but it was funny how much they sanitized the original mythology. Alicia Earl, this game has to be based on muscle memory. There's no way a new player knows what to do without a manual or something. Yeah, no, for real. There wasn't a lot of help they gave players, and I basically learned all this through trial and error. So we're going to do one of these. We're going to have you guys join, and then we're going to make 2 of those and 3 of those. Yeah. We're going to build a massive army and go across the sea. Yeah, a lot of this is muscle memory, Alicia, I'm not going to lie. Stuffgrunt says, I'm going to destroy the bridge. I'll get to it. I think there's artillery across this bridge, so we're going to just do that. Yeah, old games had a lot of manuals, but even those could miss things or not explained very well. Indeed. Stuffgrunt says, Nod repairs the bridge. Most of it's just clicking and seeing what happens. I love the lasers more than GDI's Vulcan cannon turret because it leaves fire behind. It obviously doesn't leave your units in the fire wall. Yeah, I don't really like the GDI-based defenses. They're not the greatest. They don't really get good base defenses until CNC 3, where you get the amazing sonic emitter. Use control groups, Snowman. Control groups, what are you talking about? I mean, I know what you're talking about, but like in what instance? Here, you guys go up here and go destroy this. Got you. That's adding up. I guess I should start taking mental notes. Again, I would recommend you probably start with CNC 3. That does a really good job of teaching you everything. And play on easy. Snowman, the flood in the Bible says that it covers the whole land. That's been interpreted as the entire globe, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. That's interesting. I'll have to look at the original Hebrew and see if that's the case. Because that would definitely be kind of interesting if it was more local. Alright, let's put you guys in here. And then we will take the rest of you this way. Org Luzman, the Seven Sister Stars were apart 100,000 years ago. There we go. That's, yeah, see, there you get it. So yeah, even longer than that. So, like, the fact that, like, that survived in stories, even if, like, the actual record of there being 7 stars didn't. I just find that fascinating. Luke Danger says, yes, I hate how people think the past was dumb when they just didn't have the benefits of the generation of collective knowledge we have now. They weren't dumb, just working with less pieces. Yes, 100%. I think that way about a lot of other things. Like, people didn't realize germs were a thing. It's like, well, that's a big leap to make, that, like, tiny microorganisms are what's causing sickness, as opposed to, like, miasma theory, which was, like, bad air, or the 5 humors, all that stuff. Yes, hilariously wrong, but it's not like they were stupid. They were working with what they had, you know? Sludge, if I recall, the local indigenous people had tales of a flood. Looking back, not too far geologically speaking, there was a valley south of Melbourne. For some reason, the embankment collapsed. Now it's a bay. Interesting. Michael Grodel, honestly, if you put a caveman and had him born today, he or she would be a pretty normal, except for a dairy allergy. Suppose so. Sludge, God, text limit on the chat is so strict. Is there a text limit on the chat? I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was a thing. Try to fix that for next time. Alright, let's put you guys in here. Alright, so you're going to be 3 or 5 because you're the engineers. You guys are going to be 3. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Oh shoot, I don't have enough turrets over here. Absolutely a big pain when trying to explain things, then you get the time delay. I'm sorry guys, I'm still figuring this out. The time delay was mostly to keep people from spamming things and also give me a chance to catch up with the chat, but the text limit is not something I want, so I'll try to get rid of that if that's an option. Aussie, do you know if there is an option to get rid of the text limit, or is that something YouTube won't let you change? Alicia Earl, I feel like a baby because I have barely any knowledge of CNC. Yet you asked me about Nintendo, and it's like I'm a grandmother with knowledge to share. It's telling me one thing I need to study. I mean, I really appreciate you, like, stepping foot in a brand new fandom that, like, you know nothing about. I mean, you don't have to, but, you know, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. It's not an easy fandom to get into, necessarily, if you didn't grow up with it. Michael Grill, the thing I love most about the CNC community is our shared hatred of the unmentionable game. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Michael Grill. There is no such game. Let's build more of these. Right, so I want at least 3 over here, and we're going to make some more over here. Lol, Snufflegrunt. You can access the 5-unit production cap in the ini file, or increase it, if only at 5 due to the computational power of 1999. True. True indeed. That is one thing I liked about the remastered titles, is that they let you go a lot more than just 1. Oh my goodness, I need to do that. Alicia Earl, what is the unmentionable game? Give me knowledge, please. CNC4, Luke Danger says, Tiberian Twilight, the 4th mainline Tiberian game. It was universally hated because it was a very bad story and not being all worthy as a finale of the series. Yeah, absolutely. The game was rushed. It did not at all do justice to the story that we'd all been waiting for, and they haven't really made a game since. So it was a bad note to end on. Sludge 102, I don't know if it's something you can see, but it's like 200 or something characters. Yeah, that feels very low. I'll definitely try and change that for next time, guys. Sorry about that. Michael Grodel says, darn, I mentioned it. Luke Danger says, though in fairness to Tiberian Twilight, it wasn't originally meant to be the finale, but an esports game, then it got pressed into being the finale by EA. Yes, it was originally going to be a game meant solely for the Chinese market. And somehow that EA was like, turn it into a full game. Make it the final finale of the series. It's like, oh boy. Let's move you guys up here. We're going to have you guys rush the bridge once we get rid of everything else on the other side.
Yes, sir.
Which means I'm also going to need another engineer.
Unit ready.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And we're going to make more cyborgs when we get the chance.
Ready.
Aussie says, I think the text limit is built into YouTube. I'll look up to it. Thanks, Aussie. Sludge says, I love coming to new or returning player streams, especially in titles I remember disturbingly well. I'll give good advice or bad. I love baiting people with traps in Tib Dawn. Oh, that is diabolical, Sludge. That is diabolical. All right. So we're gonna make you guys 2, and then you guys will be 1 because you want you guys to be my main force. Speedy Shay J says, well, gotta go. Got things to do. See y'all. See you, Speedy Shay J. Glad you could make it. Or Glusman says, the Greek philosopher Democritus discovered the atom around 400 BC. Now, this is impressive for the time without any advanced science. Yes, I believe I've heard about that. He basically theorized the idea of there being the smallest possible thing being the basis for all matter. Which exactly proves the point that me and Luke Danger were making, which is that, people in the past were not idiots. I mean, Eratosthenes basically discovered the world was round because he saw a well, I believe, in Alexandria that you could see straight to the bottom at noon during the summer solstice. And then he traveled south several miles and had a stick placed there and saw there was a shadow and was like, So he measured the angle of the shadow, and using that, he was able to calculate the circumference of the Earth to a very close degree. Like, it was very close to what we actually know it to be, which is kind of fascinating. Shadow Trooper says, I like that this game alone has something that I can make more and more blue Tiberian like the green Tiberian, but Riddler 2 doesn't have something that can make more of the valuable gems. Yeah, I liked how much the Tiberium spread in this game. That's one of the things I really hated about Tiberium Wars, is that they just didn't grow very much, and they kept wanting you to expand. It's like, let me turtle, gosh dang it.
Training.
Okay. Felicia Earl, for it to not be loved, that's a terrible finale. Yeah, no, it was pretty bad. Tiberian Twilight was done in 13 months, I believe. Good grief, they had that small of a time window to make that? Snufflegrunt says, I recall the Nod campaign basically consisting of unlocking artillery, then simply inching artillery forwards tile by tile. Yeah, that wouldn't get patched till Firestorm. The YouTube chat character limit is set, can't change it as the creator. That sucks. Alicia Earl, Snowman, can I have permission to cringe you for 5 seconds since you've been reading the Odyssey? Will you ever come around to Mermaid Birdo? I enjoy this topic way too much. Yeah, I actually just finished the part with the sirens. I'm now back at the part where Odysseus is about to come home to Ithaca. But yeah, Mermaid Birdo. That is so cursed. Luke Danger. Honestly, crawlers from Tiberian Twilight were a logical conclusion of the MCV tech and were perfect for the fixed force or take and then defend missions like GS Finale. The story was just bad. Yeah, no, I don't hate the idea of the crawlers. And yeah, that's a really good idea. For fixed force missions, that might have actually been really cool. But yeah, they were super rushed. I don't blame the developers. I blame EA for rushing them. Michael Grodel, I believe his measurement was around 23,000 miles. I wouldn't know off the top of my head. Oh, I'm back caught up with the chat. Yay. Sledge says it was originally meant to be a mobile title. Was it? Michael Grodel, Red Alert 3 was done in 18 months. Tiberium Wars was done in less time, I believe. Both were abandoned pretty quickly. Alicia Earl, he isn't ever going to come around. So sad. Yeah, I'm stubborn like that. Okay. Alright, I think we're ready. Sludge says, there aren't too many traps in Tib Dawn, but 2 of my favorites are GDI Finale South and Nod 10. Time for D-Day. You're right, Luke Danger.
Yes,
It's time for D-Day.
Unit reporting. Engineering.
Alright, guys, if you've never seen amphibious APCs, this is one of my favorite parts of the entire campaign. Shadow Trooper says, system error makes me laugh when the cyborgs die. Yes. Alicia Earl says, shame on you for being stubborn. Yeah, well, it's a family thing. Check out Snowman's second channel. Thank you, guys. Play that one cutscene. Yes, I will. I love that cutscene. So, the amphibious APCs are super cool. I wish there was more water in all the skirmish maps, so these would be more useful. I think Firestorm kind of amended that with the maps they added.
Yes, sir.
Okie dokie.
Yes, sir.
Artichoke.
Orders received. Moving out. On my way. Orders received.
Okay, I think this is where we need to go. And I don't think there's any artillery on this side, so I think we're in the clear.
Sir.
You're going to stay here.
Waiting orders. Yes, sir.
All right, so 2 over here, 3 over here, 1 here.
Sir. Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Orders received. Yes, sir. Unit reporting. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Unit reporting. Moving out.
Now we're on General Vega's base.
Sir, sir. Units ready. Sir, orders received. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, wait, nope, you didn't drop that off.
Unit reporting. Yes, sir. Unit reporting. Moving out. Sir. Orders received.
Let me look at the chat real quick. Michael Gordo says, cyborgs just didn't see the blue screen of death and die. Imagine it's the last thing a cyborg sees.
Orders received. Sir. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Sir.
I wish Tiberian said had more naval units. Me too. Or at least, like I said, more water areas so that GDI's amphibious vehicles have more of an advantage. Because as it stands, it's kind of funny how, like... Whoop. Okay. Who do you think you are? Running around leaving scars. Alright, we're ready to go, boyos. Boys and girls. Vincent Zappin Iverson says, how does it go for you? Pretty well. Pretty well. Welcome to the chat. Luke Danger says, just realized, no medics accompany the force. Those work stupidly well with cyborgs as a front line. Oh, you're right. I forgot medics.
Unit ready. Yes, sir.
Maybe we still have time for that.
Yes, sir.
Training.
Vincent says, thank you. Vincent says, Snowman, how's it going for you? Pretty well. I mean, not great, but good. Better than it used to be. Hopefully, my fortunes will turn even better soon. But, hey, I'm playing Tiberian Sun with a great community up for my channel. I got a beautiful girlfriend. Can't complain. Missed opportunity, Luke Danger. Shadow Trooper says, I would have liked to have played as the Forgotten, or they had their own factions. The double cannon tanks were cool. Yeah, the old mammoth tanks. That's something that's kind of always bugged me, is that apparently Westwood planned to have the Forgotten as a full faction and Cabal as a full faction in Firestorm, but EA kind of rushed them and they didn't have the time to finish that. How do you forget medics? I'm going to just forget the people who heal me. I forget, like, as far as I'm aware, like, this might be the last game that really has medics, unless you count the ambulances and generals. I gotta head out, but nice hanging. Good to have you, Snufflegrunt. Thanks for talking theology. Really appreciate it. One of my niche interests. Along with history and other stuff.
Waiting orders.
Training.
Okay. Can we do any exploring? I don't know if we can. What? That's a hard note for me.
Unit ready. Unit lost.
Oh, look at that. They destroyed it.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Alright, we'll just make 10 medics and then go from there.
Yes, sir. Waiting orders. On my way.
Okay. Luke Danger says, yeah, later games either didn't have medics or made you have to run all the way back to base. Or made the engineers hero everybody like in Tiberian Twilight, though at least you could argue it's the power armor. Fair enough. Stufflegren says, always happy to chat theology. Thanks, appreciate that. Iverson says, ever finished this game on both GDI and Nod? I have, multiple times as a kid. Some of these games I've only completed like them recently, or certain campaigns recently. But this one I definitely finished the whole way. Let's see. That's 6, so I guess I'll make you guys 7. Alicia Earl, question: where does the profile picture get its inspiration from? I get the Snowman, obviously. Are you talking about my profile picture? Well, obviously the Snowman part. You know the backstory on that. Originally, I just found a PNG online of a Snowman carrying a vaguely AK-47 looking gun with an army helmet on, just because, I don't know, I like military stuff. But then our good friend Rogue from the Super Challenge Brothers channel, he drew me, without me even realizing he was going to do it, he drew an avatar for me. So that's what I'm using. He drew that. And I think he drew it to look like a Revolutionary War kind of Valley Forge era soldier, because that's my favorite period in American history. So that's why that is. So he has a musket now instead of an AK-47, because he was trying to evoke Revolutionary War. Micro Grotto, speaking of medics, I absolutely do not like the hospitals in RA2. Yuri's Revenge really fixed them. What was wrong with the hospitals in RA2? Shadow Trooper says, oh wow, 4 medics? I thought only 2 was needed. No, we're going to have 10. Luke Danger, huh, so I guess units don't die in APCs in Tib's Sun. I guess not. I didn't realize that. Neither in Red Alert. It's overkill. Micro Gordo says, no, you can never have too many medics. Medical students need somewhere to go after med school. It's like the joke that all the engineers in this Command & Conquer series are just people who are tired of working at AOL Tech. Yeah, the Super Challenge Bros, lol. 10 medics. Oh wow, Rogue did such a great job. Matches you so well. Yeah, no, he makes all of our avatars. He's an amazing artist. Such a cool dude. Well, lots of lasers. The original RA2 had to send soldiers to the hospital to heal. In Yuri's Revenge, they auto... Oh, they don't auto-heal? Oh my gosh, I've been using the hospitals all wrong. I just assumed they auto-healed. Yeah, no, that sucks. Destroy it. Underrated chat message. Iverson says, if my memory serves me right, you have to destroy all the buildings, which means even all the laser fence connections as well. I believe you are correct. Alicia Earl, your family is so talented. Goodness gracious. We like to think so. Okay, destroy the lasers first. Come on, guys. Destroy the lasers. That's where Generals got it from. They combine both with the barracks and the hospital. Nice. Wait, is there artillery around somewhere that I'm missing? Yes, there is. Where? Where? Where's the artillery? Oh, there it is. Alright, time to send in the main force. Here we go. For the United Nations! Alicia Earl says, Musics can sing, Rogue does art, Aussie is great at jokes and editing, and Snowman is very militant, hardworking, and is an all-around good person. Aw, thanks, Alicia. I really like positive verbal affirmation. That was great.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Shadow says, I was wondering why when I send an engineer to the hospital, why it's not capturing it? Why does my unit go inside? I don't know. Alright, time to send these guys in. Let's go. No time to waste.
Building.
Move, move, move. Michael Grohl says, I will say RE3's combat engineers are hilarious. Got some random professors, gave him a pistol, and sent him back to hold up a Swiss bank.
On my way. Yes, sir. On my way. On my way. Orders received. You got it. Waiting orders.
Unit lost.
Moving out.
Unit ready.
Waiting orders.
Alicia Earl says, anytime positive verbal affirmation was achieved. Alright, our Titans are in the field. Oh, one more over here.
Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I hate that there's no rally points in this game.
Affirmative.
One thing I really like about the fixed force missions is that from a storytelling perspective, I like the idea that, like, Nod and GDI by this point have kind of reached some sort of parity. It's not a world where, like in CNC3, where GDI very clearly has the upper hand. In this world, GDI is running on limited resources too. And they may go to an area that's heavily defended by Nod, and they have to deal with what forces are available in the area.
Unit ready. Moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out. Unit reporting.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Gotta say, the Nod aesthetic is so cool.
Yes, sir.
You walk into a Nod base with the laser-based defenses, and it's like, yep, this is the bad guy base.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Aussie says, we should do a collab video on your second channel. I would love that. You pick the game, and I'll do it. Luke Danger says, time to capture General Vega's Conyard and build a second war factory and barracks to deploy right into his base, or just steal his hand of Nod.
Yes, sir.
Not a bad idea. Visceroid sighted. Tiberian lifeform detected. System readies, weapons armed.
You got it.
Microgirl, always love blowing those up with the rocket launchers in Renegade. Blowing what up? The Visceroids? Alicia Earl, the aesthetic of the 90s pixels and bombings of properties. Yeah, no, it's a vibe. Okay.
Sir. Unit ready. Moving out. Received. Unit ready. You got it. No problem.
Luke Danger says, Nod really owned its supervillain chic at Cypress Sun. I'm here for it. There are rally points, by the way. Alt-click for factories, if I remember correctly. Really? Let's see if this works. Alt-click. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Yeah, Luke Danger, today I learned what the shrimp! That's been there the whole time! And I thought I was a genius when I discovered that you could group units. Oh my gosh.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Well, thank you, Jez.
Ready.
Yes, sir. Received.
I just met you, and you're already one of my favorites. Good grief.
Reporting. Unit ready. On my way.
Yeah, mind blown, Aussie. Jez, on the patched community version of Tiberian Sun, you can just right-click, no alt required. Gotcha. Wow. Thanks.
You got it.
Now we're just in the mop-up phase now, guys.
Waiting orders.
We'll end the stream as soon as this mission's over.
Yes, sir.
Don't want to keep you guys here too long.
Yes, sir. No problem.
And now we can build Nod things. Like lasers.
Proceed. Yes, sir. Unit orders received. Yes, sir. On my way.
Laser versus laser. How about a second laser? Why isn't it showing? There we go. Michael Gordo says, I do kind of miss the Red Alert Gray vibe of Nod and Tib Dawn. Oh, the Red Gray vibe, sorry, Tib Dawn, though I love the red black colors of Nod. Yeah, that was one thing I didn't appreciate about Renegade, is they tried to retroactively make Nod have always had the red and black color scheme, when I really liked how Nod in the Tiberian Dawn era was more like 1990s grounded terrorist with urban gray camo. I didn't appreciate how wacky they looked in Renegade. Alicia Earl, now after watching these old pixels, I want to see Snowman play the Oregon Trail. To see it say Snowman got dysentery would probably be the best thing ever to watch. That probably wouldn't take very long for me to record and play. Is there a version of the Oregon Trail that you prefer, Alicia? Because I probably would just get the one that's free on DOSBox, but like the very first one. But if there's like a newer version of it that you would like me to play, let me know. Aussie says, saying the black dark gray of the red with the red is one of the best colors in CNC game. Great idea. Alicia says, if y'all collaborate on that game, oh my gosh, I'd be watching it forever. Do you want to do that, Aussie? Do you want to, like... Okay, the second one. Oregon Trail 2. Okay. Yeah, if you want to do that, Aussie, if you want to, like, collaborate on my channel to, like, play the Oregon Trail together, I'd be super down for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Engineering. No problem. Yes, sir. No problem. Waiting orders. Engineering. Yes, sir.
Alicia, yes, let's get Rogue, you, and me to do the Oregon Trail to see if all three of us can make it. That sounds amazing. Alicia says, if this is a reality, I want to scream.
You got it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yes, sir.
We'll do it on the second channel.
Moving out. Now we're moving. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem. You got it.
Yeah, when CNC 3 came out, I think people wanted to make it more like kind of War on Terror aesthetics, more grounded, more reality, but I really love Tiberian Sun. Just looks like a 90s TV show.
Orders received.
It looks like something like Stargate or,
Yes, sir.
you know, any of the number of shows in the 90s. And, you know, is it dated? Maybe, but also it's unique. It's its own thing. It's not trying to be everything. Everything in the 2000s and the post 9/11 era was trying to be more grounded and serious. And Tiberian Sun was something all its own. And I miss that. I really miss that, guys.
Unit orders received.
It's weird kind of growing up in that weird space of like the optimism of the 90s combined with like just how dark and dour things felt right after 9/11. Like it's a weird transition period to have lived through, not gonna lie. Also, I love how the laser fencing goes down when the power goes down.
On my way.
Why is my harvester here? Alicia says, yes, my day is made. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Okay, I want to make sure I get the right one, so I might do a community post, Alicia, with a picture of the Oregon Trail one that I'm going to play. So you just let me know in the comments if we got the right one. Welcome to the stream, Big Smile. Uncle Gordo says I'll have to check that out as well. Alicia says, a YouTuber I also enjoy watching is DGR Dave. He plays the Oregon Trail, and it's so funny. Y'all three would have a blast. I should check out DGR Dave.
Silos.
Yes, sir.
Silos needed, which you actually mean is not enough Titans. I'm so stinking happy that I can't type straight anymore. Well, we definitely have to make it happen then.
Yes, sir.
Jez says, might be a small thing, but I didn't like how they made GDI blue in the cutscenes in CNC3 when they were always gold green before. Yeah. In the original CNC, they were yellow. In this game, they're gold. In 3, they were orange. And then in 4, they just straight up made them blue for some reason. I wish they would be more consistent with the color scheme of GDI. I always thought gold and Tiberian Sun was the best version of their color scheme. Oh, you have seen DGR Dave. Interesting. Michael Grodel, I do like how Generals is kind of the spiritual successor to Tib Dawn and how it's more grounded and set in your future. Yes! Okay, if I ever cover Generals, which I hope to someday, I will talk about that. Okay, you 100% Michael Grodel. So Tib Dawn, if people go back to it, especially compared to Tib Sun, it is so grounded. It is just, other than Tiberium and like some lasers, for the most part, like Tib Dawn is just like a modern warfare RTS, with just a little bit of sci-fi near future. And then you play Generals, and what is that? Just modern warfare with a little bit of lasers and sci-fi near future. I always thought the Generals was a spiritual successor to the original Tib Dawn, and that, in my mind, is why it's feels very CNC to me, even though it feels so different. If anybody's ever played Tib Dawn, they know that's like early Westwood. Thank you, Michael Grodel. Luke Danger, Harvester probably used all the other Tib or wanted to go to the other refinery. Fair enough. Let's see. We have Aussie says Snowman. There's also a newer one I saw on an Xbox that's 3D and stuff. Okay, I'll take a look. Maybe I'll do a poll on my channel and see like, hey, which one would you guys want me to cover? Leash Earl, though I don't prefer commentating it, I'll definitely have to. Yeah, just to make sure we get the one that you want us to play. Shadow Trooper says, if I could play a skirmish game with both a Nod and a GDI MCV so I could build both Nod and GDI base, I would do that in a heartbeat. There's probably a mod for that.
Unit reporting. You got it.
Blue is the color of the Allies in Red Alert. Yes, blue should be reserved for the Allies. Luke Danger says, unless GDI was the Op4 in their campaign for Tiberian Twilight, then they're red for some reason? Huh. I don't remember that.
You got it.
Big Smile says, the CNC3 Tiberian War story is good, but the Nod concept art units are not all crap. Some are good. Yeah, for sure. That's the one thing I don't really complain about with CNC3. I did think the story was pretty good on both the GDI and the Nod campaign and the Skrin one. I think they did a good job. Sludge says, 2 mods I recommend. Dawn of the Tiberium Age, warning some of the campaigns are super hard, and Combine Arms for Open RA. I'll have to check that out. There's some edited maps where you can spawn in with 2 armies and generals. It's pretty sick.
Sir. Yes, sir. Orders received.
Oh, look at all these guys. They came from the rally point. I'm so happy. I'm still discovering new things with this game that means so much to me. Like, go ahead and put in the chat, since we're about to end the stream, like, what are some games from your childhood? Just pick one that, like, meant so much to you and, like, still does, and almost in a way that you can't really express. I feel like we all have that one game. For me, it's definitely Tiberian Sun.
Yes, sir. No problem. You got it.
Training.
Waiting orders. You got it.
Jez says, seconding Dawn of the Tiberian Age, amazing mod in the style of TDRA. Yep. Aussie says, Army Men Plastic Warfare. You talking about the original Army Men's? Which one are you talking about? Because they made a lot of Army Men's. Okay.
Units ready.
Luke Danger says, Stronghold, the original one by Firefly Studios. I've heard good things about Stronghold. I should probably check that out at some point. Sludge says, Army Men RTS. It's not great, but super nostalgic. Oh, I own Army Men RTS. I got stuck on the stupid mission with the Lego people and trying to protect them from all the tan forces. I should go back and finish that game finally. Army Men 2, sorry. Yes, Army Men 2 is incredible. I should cover that for my channel too. I tried covering the original Army Men on my channel, but I couldn't get the frame rate to not be super slow, and every fix I tried online wasn't working, which is really a shame, because I would love to cover that even in a video essay.
Unit ready. No problem.
Aussie says, "Amen, yes, the Army Man RTS was sick." Yes, it was. Alright, let's see the cutscene and get to the end here, guys.
Medic reporting. Your command seating.
Thank you guys for all being here. I really appreciate it. Do you have Army Men on Steam, GOG, or CD? I have it on GOG. It doesn't seem to be working, though. There is an original CD copy I think I gave to my dad for his birthday years ago because he loves that game. Maybe I can ask to borrow it and try that. Because, I don't know. Would the CD version not have the frame rate issues, in your opinion?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
here we go.
Affirmative.
Secondary objective achieved.
Okay, we're still missing something.
Affirmative.
What are we missing? You'll need to use a wrapper like DXWND. I'll have to look into that. Big smile. The problem is they remove a lot of the units from Tiberian Sun, like Seeker, Hunter Seeker, Banshees, subterranean units, Harpy Helicopter. Yeah, that was my biggest problem with Command and Conquer 3, is they got rid of all the cool units. Kane's Wrath did fix some of that, which is why Kane's Wrath is my favorite way to experience CNC3.
Unit ready. On my way. Yes, sir.
Oh, here we go. Shadow Trooper says, favorite Tiberium life form is the Fiend. With the Tiberium on its back, GDI infantry says creatures don't look too friendly. Yeah, these critters don't look too friendly. Love that. Sledge says, for GOG or CD, I've seen the Steam version stream no problems, but I don't know if it can be wrapping or not. Okay, yeah, I didn't pick the Steam version because I just assumed GOG would be better for older games, but
Unit reporting.
yeah, if that works, then I will pick that up on Steam and see if I can finally play that, because I would love to cover that on my channel. It's such a great game and very underrated. Did any of you guys grow up playing the Medal of Honor games? Because I would love to cover the Medal of Honor games on my channel.
Sir. You got it.
Alright, sorry guys, just trying to get the last bit of it. There it is.
Unit ready. On my way. Unit ready. You got it.
Now it should be mission accomplished.
Site secure. Objective.
Yeah!
Mission
Let's
complete.
go! In this amazing cutscene. Whew! Yes, Sludge, hunting down the Sams is the only downside of this mission. Indeed. Org Luzman says, Pyramid, Pyramid. Luke Danger says, especially since they can't shoot without power. Alicia Earl says, man, I am so curious on what HEC stands for. The detective in me is crying. Well, file it away as a long-term mystery. It's going to be a while. But I will, within about, like, 2 or 3 years, I think I will eventually, like, there is a hard cutoff date when I will have to tell you. Michael Grodel, I love this cutscene so much. Yes. Best version of GDI's light infantry. Yes, I love the aesthetic of the GDI infantry in this game. The helmets, everything, the guns. Alicia Earl says, the cutscene was like Star Wars come to life. It was. This shares a lot of aesthetics with everything that I love in media, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Alright. Now time to get General Vega.
Kane, I need reinforcements. You must send help.
Find there is surprisingly little I must do, General Vega.
Kane, I served you for years.
Emergency deployment. Immediate launch.
That's Kane. Yes, Alicia, the bald dude is Kane, a seemingly immortal leader of the Brotherhood of Nod. He's the villain. He's the main villain of the game.
Sarcastic. That crap fries your brain. You're gonna tell me what happened to the rest of that ship. What happened to the technology that you and Kane stole off that UFO?
Can you steal it? Need it. Tacitus.
What is Kane found? What is a Tacitus?
Oh, he overdosed.
I have some very bad news.
The Kodiak. Woo!
Nod forces have broken through our European perimeter command. They've taken Hammerfest. We think they're after our disruptor technology, sonic crystals. I need your forces ready for immediate deployment. Destroy everything Nod has here. Get them off our base.
Let's go, Hammerfest. All right, let me just answer a few more questions from the chat before we wrap up. That cutscene was D-Day on Easy Mod. Big smile. The artillery unit design in CNC3 Kane's Wrath is garbage and makes no sense. I assume you're talking about the stealth artillery unit. Yeah, it's not as cool as Tibson's. Yeah, the bald dude is Kane. He's the villain. Luke Danger. As I said, Tiberian Sun was not at its best supervillain chic, and of course Vega decides to take the eye candy in his last moments. Yeah, eye candy is the drug that he's addicted to. Vega, not Kane. Let's go. Luke Danger says, oh, they're going to nuke the place? Nope. Sledge says, if you're going to make people take themselves out, might as well make it out high. Audio's a bit quiet for me. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Gameplay audio was just fine. And even for me, like, the audio got really quiet when it went to the cutscene. I don't know what that was about. I think that's the game itself. Big smile. There's a Tiberian Sun remake in CNC3 graphics. If anyone's interested, to check that out. Luke Danger says, I really wish we got a chance for McNeil to dwell on what happened to his brother, especially in light of the Nod campaign. Yeah, I wish there was more for him to do. I love Michael Biehn. Sledge102 says, yeah, it's the problem with the older games. There's no mixing. Almost all the sound is from the same source. Shadow Trooper says, this mission was so tough for me when I first tried it. I didn't know what to do, and I kept making mistakes. Are you talking about Hammerfest? Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error for Hammerfest. All right. Hey, Go Better. You coming from the Super Challenge Brothers channel? Mladen says, do you play Firestorm X? I assume you're talking about the first-person shooter fan project, Firestorm X. I have not. I really should, though. Alicia Earl says the cutscene felt like a movie. Yeah, that was what was so fun about it. All the cutscenes in Command & Conquer games feel like you're playing a movie. And, it was so good. The Dreamer says, hi all, welcome. Alicia says, if National Treasure was made on a ship, that's what CNC reminds me of. That movie is probably my favorite, bias included. Yeah, I love National Treasure. National Treasure's great. Luke Danger. Wait, is Firestorm X actually playable yet? I thought it was still in closed beta. I don't know. Michael Rose says, all right, I'll be heading out. Awesome stream, Snowman. See you, Michael. Thanks for being here. All right, so we're going to wrap up a few things. First off, next stream probably be in another 2 weeks. I think we're going to keep this on an every other week sort of format. So 2 weeks from now, Saturday, same time, I think 11 a.m. works. We'll be doing Hammerfest, and we'll keep doing that. Sledge says, Hammerfest is one of the best missions to watch people stream, from watching them struggle to making vague hints of what's coming, only for them to realize it's too late. Now, as much as I know exactly what to do in Hammerfest, again, it has been a while since I played the game, and it's my first time playing on normal, so I might still struggle. Lan says, Luke, are they still working on it? Oh, they are still working on it. Alicia says, July 12th, 2025, Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific. Exactly, Alicia. And hopefully before then, me and the Super Challenge Bros can get together to do Oregon Trail on the second channel. By the way, I have started the second channel, HHC Snowman's Playground. I know most of you who subscribe here did not subscribe for the playthroughs, so totally okay if you don't want to subscribe to that one. But if you just want to see me mess around with my friends and see kind of a more lighthearted version of me, feel free to subscribe to HHC Snowman's Playground. Dreamer says he's been playing Red Alert. Nice. I guess the only other thing is, hopefully my fortunes will be turning around soon, and I'll have a lot more free time to devote to the channel and streams. Thank you guys all for being here. Super appreciate it. As I said before, it's awesome having you here, and it really calms me down. It helps me stress a little bit less about real life, because real life sucks, but hopefully it will get better soon. Alicia Earl says, yes, I will make it known. It's a one-player game, but if the three of you played on one console, the chaoticness, it would be uncannily hilarious. Go Better says, nice, see you all around. All right, I'm going to play the initial cutscene, save, and then we'll end it. So,
Nod has taken over much of our Hammerfest base in their search for the disruptor. Nod has reactivated the perimeter to prevent GDI from attacking. Water assault remains your only option. Find the Firestorm defense structure generating the perimeter and deactivate it. Only then can reinforcements arrive. Proceed to destroy Nod's primary base and prevent them from attacking again.
water assault remains your only option.
Establishing battlefield control. Stand by.
And that, my boys and girls, is Hammerfest. Alicia Earl says, so excited. Thanks for making my day amazing. I enjoy all the streams from you and your bros. Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate it. Luke Danger says, have a good night, everyone. Yeah, thanks for joining, guys. See you in a couple weeks.